All right.
Snacks of Life, episode 2.
Do you got a clap?
No, but I named this one episode 2, Attack of the Cones.
Because of this thing?
Because of that thing. Sheesh, this is going to be a rough one. Everybody knows that I like to smoke. I'm going to put my real smoking glasses on, Daniel. How you feeling today, dude?
Feeling great.
Feeling great.
Chilling.
The Snacks of Life, episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Headwaters started us off. You got to, light it like an incense. Hold it up. Yeah, hold it up. And he's given us this hash blunt. And I think last time he was here last week, and he didn't get me high enough. So he decided to give us this hash blunt. You got to hold it up almost like a chillum, yeah. And I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. Real good podcaster. I got gum in my mouth. And I come to find out that this hash blunt
is just hash paper.
There's no fucking paper. I don't know where he got the blunt part from because there's no blunt. This is a stick of hash. Daniel, have you ever seen such a thing?
I've never seen such a thing.
Bubbles up like
Is
crazy.
it intimidating to you as someone that doesn't smoke?
It's crazy how hash consumption has evolved over the years. Back in the 90s, me and my friends would take a glass bottle, put in like a nickel.
A dime, yeah.
Or a dime, make a little hole, have a cigarette, put the bot on the cigarette, and there you go. But
or hot knives.
Things have really evolved since then.
It looks just as tricky as a BT.
Dude,
so
it's
far.
like
it's melting.
It doesn't look stable.
This thing that Headwater gave me, he definitely was sabotaging me to, first of all, smoke a copious amount of hash and weed together in one sitting.
Look at it going. It's totally, yeah. I think,
fuck, we might need to roll a blunt with this.
Yeah, I think
maybe
I'll
that's what we
try
should
that.
do. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Mr. Hashwater, that was a failure.
It's like it's to be honest, it's just like a fruit roll up was rolled, and see that just came off.
Yeah, you messed that one up.
Yeah.
All right. We'll gut a backwood. So today, Snacks of Life, episode 2, Attack of the Cones. That was a failure. I'll have to have Headwater back to give me a lesson in new hash. We have with us probably, I would say, between me and Ryan. Also, let's get the elephant out of the room here. Mr. Rita is a celebrity. Mr. Mike Rita is a international celebrity. And he's taken the episode off to be in California while we're here in the fucking cold. He's playing cowboy in California. So sitting in his place is my good friend Ryan. Because when I said I was having a podcast, the first person that came to his mind and my mind to have on the show is somebody that I consider the encyclopedia of Toronto music. And everybody knows I love going to concerts. As just a person that bought tickets, it's how my and Ryan's relationship formed, was through concerts. And he put me onto your page, I'm going to say 2 years ago, maybe, a year and a half ago. And the stuff you post, man, the different throwbacks to, I think you hit everybody. You hit Russ, the owner of the studio. You hit people with the Biggie Smalls in the basement. Just speak and tell the people, because they may not be familiar with the Flyer Vault as a concept. Just speak a little bit about how you got so involved with the music scene in Toronto and why you're so passionate about it. And while you do that, I'm going to take that time to roll a blunt.
Cool. And I really do hit everybody. I've even posted Sharon, Lois, and Bram flyers.
Okay, now the Wiggles. I took my son to a Wiggles concert. Row 2, proud dad moment.
I've posted Raffi flyers. And in fact, one of the great,
Wow.
with all due respect to Drake and everybody else, when Sharon, Lois, and Bram official started following me, it's a moment I'll never forget. That was a legendary follow.
That was one where you woke up and you're like, I've made it. I've made it. Sharon, Lois, and Bram. One of them is passed away, right?
Yes, it was. I think Lois passed.
Right. I remember that being big news.
God bless Lois. I hope I'm not wrong on that. That would be bad luck.
I want to say it was Lois too.
I know Bram is still kicking around. I think Sharon's. Yeah, one of them.
Yeah, I remember that being big news for our childhood.
They basically raised me. Them, Raffy, Fred Penner, Mr. Dress Up, Pee Wee, of course.
Under the Umbrella Tree.
Yep.
That was another one.
Yep. But yeah, man. So just been curating the Flyer Vault, a little voyage into Toronto music history for a few years.
How many years? When did it all start?
Yeah, so I think my first post was April 2015. So we're on almost 8 years. And yeah, back in April, I'd have 10 followers, 20 followers, and all the DJs. I'd be tagging all the DJs, and they're like, "Who is this dude?" And then tagging all the promoters, and then they start commenting like, "What's going on?" And then it just kind of grew from there. It just sort of snowballed.
I mean, you've had some huge reposts, and like leaving out people like the Drake repost, obviously with the Ice Cube.
Yeah, that was hard.
That's crazy. That's a crazy moment, right?
Yeah.
But also like TMZ and like Daily Mail, and like when you make news with something like that, like you go far. It's international news at this point.
Absolutely. Do me a favor though. Just take the volume, just a little notch.
How about that?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
Perfect.
I'm yelling in his ear. I'm excited. It's big because it resonates, like I say, with everyone. I think that's the thing that I picked up most about the page is, and very much to my musical taste as well. I think that's why we've meshed probably, because I see you out in Buffalo at the Benny the Butcher, hanging out with West Side and those type of shows.
Yeah.
And then I see you at like rock shows and appreciating, like last night you were hanging out with my brothers, The Hallucination at the TD, right?
Yeah.
The new venue?
Yeah. That was last night. But it's crazy. Yeah. It's like, one day I'm at a Benny the Butcher, Conway the Machine show in Buffalo. The next day I'm seeing The Who, 50-year anniversary with, Pete Townsend and everything. It's, but I love music. Who does, when I grew up, I was definitely like more in my like hip hop and house music lane. But like as teenagers, you're always going to like be really into like your one niche music. But as you get older, you realize that the world of music is so vast and amazing. And I just want to experience all of it.
Right. It all has something different to offer.
For sure.
Depending on your mood or where you're at or, different types of music hit different types of ways. And I think especially for me and Ryan, I know can speak to this as well. Live music hits. It hits.
It's different.
It hits. It's a drug for
hits
me.
you in your soul and your heart.
It does. There's something about, and I've said it so many times as somebody that identifies as someone who has his issues with getting, addicted to things. How live music is an addiction. That there's no feeling like sitting there watching Zakk Wylde do a guitar solo and feeling the energy of 15,000 people that share a similarity to you and are in that exact same moment. And, whether that's from afar or being like, at Rage Against the Machine, I know you went to that show as well, in the pit, feeling like you're 16 again as a 38-year-old man.
All the 45-year-old dads with broken backs who were still doing a good job in the pit, man. It was a little rough, I was in the 100s. And I was like, yeah, you go, dads. You fucking rock it, There was even a couple dudes who even went up on the heads. Yeah, crowd surfing. I was really impressed.
Yeah.
A lot of busted backs in that pit, but they held it down. Respect to the rage dads.
It was definitely a weird vibe of like, we all haven't been this angry in a while, Well, it was also one of the earlier
return to live music shows after the because if you think about it, last year all the pandemic restrictions ended around March, April.
Right.
The Rage show was June.
Right.
So this was also the show was so palpable, man. It was
like one
the
of the first
energy was
shows back.
was crazy because it was this is Rage coming back after so many
20
years
years
of not playing in Toronto, which is insane in and of itself.
Very much so.
Also, we've been locked down for 2+ years. Can't see any shows. We got all this pent up energy in us.
Yeah.
And everybody let it out on those 2 nights. And wow, man, I'll never forget that night.
Yeah.
And then the next night, Tom Morello got body slammed on stage.
So that was
what show you were at.
That I was just gonna say, because we went to that show where and it was like, and maybe you have a different opinion on this, but like I don't think he was trying to get to the crowd, and I think the security guard, and maybe we can like put the footage in there somewhere, but I think the security guard was doing his job obviously and didn't know obviously the guy's intentions, but it seemed like he kind of got moved into Morello, and Buddy was going for the epic.
So I did
stage dive.
I basically did a frame by frame dissection of that whole situation the day after.
This is why I love this guy.
Yeah, we
And
saw that.
so initially I thought, or a lot of people thought, that the dude just bum rushed the stage to like hit Tom.
Yeah.
Which to me didn't make sense because
Didn't
like
at
if you're
all.
a Rage fan, you love Tom, and like
Been
why would you
waiting
do
all
that?
time.
100%.
And then so basically I slowed the shit down. I was looking at everything, and this was basically a classic. I'm in the stands. I need to get to the pit moment.
Pit ninja.
This fucking guy was he was feeling it.
Yeah.
Maybe he heard guerrilla radio and he said, "Fuck it, I need to get to that pit."
Now's my chance.
And he realized, so he's doing the mental math in his mind. He's like, "How am I going to get there?" Well, the perimeter of the floor of Scotiabank Arena, security guards and whatnot. So it's hard to do it that way. So this guy he did this mental
Not that hard.
calculus. I'm just going to bounce off the stage.
Yeah.
And then basically parkour into the pit and just get swallowed by the pit. That was his move.
Yeah, and then once I'm in the pit, they'll never find me in the pit.
And you know what? You got to give him credit and
Props.
respect for that.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening was he actually did a perfect leap onto the stage. And you've seen those parkour videos where those guys like when they land, they kind of land rolling.
Yeah, and the momentum.
So that the energy gets dissipated or something. They don't break their backs, whatever. Yeah. So, and then he rolled into the pit.
Yeah.
But then Tom's bodyguard or security guard, who I guess backs the band or whatever, was kind of caught off guard.
Right.
And then when he was going after the guy who went onto the stage, he inadvertently body slammed Tom.
Yeah.
That's pretty much.
And then
exactly
Tom
what
got up and fucking put his guitar up, and he's like, "Fuck yeah!" And then they just kept going.
Yeah. To me, I was in the middle of the pit.
I loved it.
I was in the middle of the pit with this guy, wearing my Crocs, first of all, in the middle of the pit. And when it happened, it seemed like Tom was he was happy about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like he was like,
let's rock and roll.
Exactly. Like he was like, fuck yeah. This feels like it used to feel like.
But it's crazy because when I posted that footage on Instagram,
right?
Because for the Flyer Vault, it was like Rage Week.
Right.
Like every post I was doing was Rage, right?
Yeah.
I was just so excited for the show, and it was just crazy the debate that moment created. Like you had the sort of anti, this is not safe, respect the artist, you shouldn't be doing this, those kind of people. Then there were the fucking, this is punk rock. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, those might be the same people that are like, I really like Rage Against the Machine. I just wish they weren't so political. Like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? Like, give me a break. Are you serious right now? Because that's where they come from. You look at those early shows of Rage Against the Machine.
Just not giving a fuck.
No, their stage was like cathedral. It was like 1.5 feet off of the ground. And like people, that's what they did. That was Rage Against the Machine. Like some of those rallies that Rage Against the Machine did, at the Democratic National Convention, and people don't realize this. They protest both fucking sides of that.
Yeah,
they did shows at both sides of the political party.
Well, I'm definitely in the more of the I like to break rules.
Yeah,
and especially when it comes to authority, like I like pissing authority off in general. And when this guy bum rushed the stage like that, I was like, oh, this is perfect because this is exactly what they did at the 99 show at the Gardens, if you ask anybody who was at that show, sadly I wasn't there, but anybody who was there, the entire 100 level
Ended up
bum rushed the floor.
Yeah.
Right? So I thought it was cool.
When I saw it you got to remember, our perspective was watching it from the pit. We both freaked out. Like, we were like, fuck yeah, like, this is a Rage Against the Machine show. Like, we may be in a fucking arena with a bank name on it, which the irony's not lost on me. You know what I mean? Promoted by a huge company. The tour, like, that isn't lost on me, but it had the feeling of, like, it was still a Rage Against the Machine
if you're
show.
The true purists didn't go to that show because they're fuck Live Nation and fuck the $200 ticket price, and they're very
out.
against the corporatization of, I guess, punk rock or Rage and what they used to be. But still, if Rage is coming to my town, I'm going.
Oh man, I waited 20 years from that, and we've talked about this previously, but I remember sitting in line, Tower Records, Queen and Young, Ticketmaster booth outside, waiting for Rhyme and Reason tickets, in line, 10 a.m., waiting.
I posted about that one also. Because I was listening to the Beastie Boy book about a month ago, and he was talking about that, how
he broke his arm or collarbone.
Mike D flipped out on a bike or something.
Yeah, and then it was a few weeks after that Tim had the freak out on the MTV Video Awards, and Rage just kind of dissolved. And I had a personal battle to see Rage because I also had tickets to see them when they were reunited for Rock the Bells in New York City, and ended up going and doing something else at that point. So and again, as a concert goer, I had tickets when COVID hit. And there was only 2 shows that I kept the tickets. Everything else I gave back. And they were Rage Against the Machine and Pearl Jam in Hamilton. And those were the only 2 tickets that I had kept. And for me, it was like investment. Like, I'm going to keep that $200 right there because at any given time, I don't care where it is, if I get the opportunity to see Rage Against the Machine for $200, take my fucking money right now. I don't care. Yeah. So that's why I held on to those tickets for so long. We were thinking about going back, and I hope, we
wanted to hit Detroit.
To go to the end show in Detroit. In Detroit.
Tour.
And I hope that they go back on tour again because that was electric this summer.
Yeah. What was it? Was it Zach's ankle?
Yeah.
It got effed up.
Yeah, and I think that he pushed it, and he was running. He was on it when he
wrecked it again.
I don't know. I suggested this. A lot of other people said this, that they should have built a Grohl throne for him, a Zach throne, right? And just let the man have a nice, kind of like what we're sitting on right now, a nice comfortable chair, and you can rock from the chair.
Yeah,
they basically carried him out on a tour cabinet.
Yeah, he was sitting on a cabinet the whole time.
It wasn't even a chair. Yeah.
For those that don't know what Daniel's talking about, there was actually 2 people that did this. Axl Rose, I think.
He
borrowed the throne from Dave Grohl. Were you at that show at Molson Amphitheater when Dave Grohl played from the throne?
No.
So you were there, right?
Yeah, there was 2.
This is Ryan. Ryan, if you weren't there, one of us was there, and later on maybe we'll go through all of the different concerts that we were in the same room and didn't know it. But Dave Grohl broke his leg. I can't remember how, and decided how.
Yeah, he was at a show. It was either, I don't know, it might have been Sweden or somewhere in South America. He basically just is it sports in that time, or
is your phone hooked up to it? Do.
Are we gonna get the scores?
No, it's not on. Damn. Yeah, that'd be cool though if they did give us the scores. Is there something important going on?
Super Bowl's tomorrow, right?
Yeah, somebody's over Super Bowl. I need to up my parlays.
Yeah, but no, Grohl. I was also reading Grohl's book, and he just took a major spill off the stage and landed in like the photo pit.
Oh,
and his leg was like foobarred.
And because Dave Grohl is fucking the man, he said, "I'm not canceling my tour. Build me a robotic fucking throne."
Dude, not only did he not cancel the tour, he still finished the show.
He finished that show.
I think he had like like his bone was like sticking out of his leg or something. I mean, he talks about it in detail in his book, but like not only did he finish the show, he did the whole tour, and I mean, he's a legend.
That book is on an audiobook as well, and he's reading it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yes.
I saw that on your Instagram as well.
Very, very good. Listen, man, I highly recommend it.
That's
But he gives so much props to Canada.
Oh, yeah?
Like,
Pat Smear lives here, right?
oh, does he? I didn't know that.
I didn't know
I thought
that.
he was an LA guy.
So without saying too much, Pat Smear, if you go and look at their Howard Stern interview, maybe I shouldn't say lives here, but has a residence here. Maybe is the best way
That's
to say
cool.
it. If and in this general area, if you go on his Howard Stern interview, maybe this is something for the page. He's wearing a Lake Simcoe hoodie on Howard Stern.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
I think I may have even sent it to you.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Pat Smear is a resident of tiny Ontario.
He
right.
is. I have good
have a
information about an approximation of where he lives, and I can say it's within 2 hours of where we are now, where he had a residence.
Within
and
2
I think
hours of Tiny.
Yeah, I think he possibly spent a lot of the COVID time there.
So you got Pat Smear wearing a Lake Simcoe T-shirt.
Yep,
You got Grohl wearing a El Macombo T-shirt.
very cool.
These guys should just move here and just be full-time Canadians
I think that Dave Grohl,
and play at the Horseshoe every Thursday.
that'd be
I
fucking.
feel like a lot of celebrities say that.
They end
during
up like
election
they
time,
end up
so-
like the Trues of Canada, and they just do like 300 shows in 365 days. Shout out to the Trues. They were everywhere. I don't know if they still have that grueling of a schedule, but at one point on the come up, they were doing a ton of shows. Dave Grohl is living legend, and I don't know what's gonna happen with Dave. I don't know where Dave's at, but I
Well,
wish him
they're
the best.
playing this year. They got a lot of dates lined up. The question is who's going to be drumming.
I just assume it's going to be his son, Taylor's son, but
That would be awesome, but
Kind
I
of
don't
an
think he's got the
age
chops.
gap.
Like he's good, but he needs more experience.
I'd let him slide.
I'm sure most Foo
I'd let him
Fighters
slide.
would.
I think that everyone around him would make it a thing enough. They're tight enough musicians, and he can play
Yeah.
enough that I would let it slide, and I would grow with him.
I think it's going to probably be Rufus Taylor,
Okay.
but it would be really cool if like it's both of them maybe. And like,
Like a
Shane,
great-
like
like the Grateful
little
Dead
Shane
style?
goes on
certain.
tour. He gets mentored
Yeah,
by the band, and then maybe in like 5 years or so, Rufus steps away, and then Shane Hawkins becomes like the full-time drummer for Foo Fighters. And it's just like, what a
That'd be neat.
story.
yeah,
You know, this is like the rock gods at play, you know?
that'd be awesome.
that would be. I'd be into that. They could do the Grateful Dead thing with the two drummers. That just kind of
Yeah, because this kid was awesome at the tribute show.
Well, he won he won
Yeah,
like
he
the
was.
drummer of the year or some sort of award just for that
Yeah, I saw
moment.
that.
And I mean, if you didn't watch that and get kind of in your gut,
Dude,
You don't have a heart, as far as I'm concerned.
that whole day, it was a beautiful summer day, I remember. And that night, actually, me and my buddies were going to go to Electric Island. And I said, I'm staying in all day. I'm closing the blinds. I don't care what the weather. I don't care how gorgeous it is outside. I'm staying home, and I'm watching this tribute show.
Yeah.
And, dude, I had goosebumps all fucking day.
yeah,
Nice.
From, like, the Rush reunion to, you know, Paul McCartney, the Queen, you know, when Brian May came out. And it was incredible. And but his kid, it was just to see this kid, who's probably, I don't know, maybe 14, 15 years old,
hold it together.
just lost his dad.
yeah, 100%.
And he's playing with just such ferocity. And you're looking at his face, and he's just slim the skins, and you can tell how much, like, it was just so emotional, and there's so much energy, and it was riveting to watch.
It
man.
was captivating for sure, and he looked like his dad, the way he was playing
Spitting
the
image, yeah.
drums. Like his dad played the drums. There's drummers that are like, he was ferocious the way, and he went at it, the way his head was going and his hair, and the passion that he was putting into.
I don't
that
think I've ever
performance.
seen somebody beat the shit out of their drum set like Taylor Hawkins did.
That's what I'm getting at, man. But
Maybe Dave
but
Grohl.
Yeah.
maybe Dave Grohl, but also Taylor Hawkins is a punk rocker, right? From the start. So, and that's when that's your come up, when people bum rush the stage, you don't mind, and you put your guitar in the air and you say "fuck yeah" like Tom Morello. So
Yeah.
I think that probably has something to do with it. But when I saw his son playing the drums, I was like, first of all, how the hell is this kid holding it together right now? Because this is a huge stage, and like you say, losing a dad. But spitting image, like that's what really got me in the guts, was how much he looked like his dad, and the flow of how he was hitting those drums, how similar it was.
Yeah.
I think Foo Fighters could also probably sell their tour out before they even told anyone who their drummer is.
100%.
Yeah. Well, it's not a tour, but they're doing like
festivals.
big one-offs. Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing the festivals. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about going to New Orleans Jazz Fest in May. That's not one that they're at, but that's like the type of thing they're doing. I can't remember the exact. I think they're doing Boston Calling. But the big U.S. I don't think they're doing Coachella. I remember seeing the Coachella lineup, and it was not Foo Fighters-esque.
The only thing I remember from the Coachella lineup, I think, is Frank Ocean.
It was a weird lineup.
I think, or am I tripping out? Or is Frank Ocean headlining?
I just remember.
I see so many. You gotta understand. You're talking to the Flyer Vault.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all a fucking blur to me, man. Every time I see another poster, flyer, this concert, that it's just names and dates spanning 100 years.
Yeah.
So,
but yet somehow when somebody says something about, I think the Grateful Dead were in Toronto, you're like, oh, they played Wonderland in '84. It was a bright, you guy knows the fucking temperature it was.
It was 12 degrees, partly cloudy.
12 millimeters of
Kingswood Park.
precipitation.
I've actually done that. I've checked like historical weather, because all the historical weather is there.
Yeah,
it's
the data's
online.
That's hilarious. So
Really paint a picture.
So you can tell me exactly how many degrees it was at Sarstock when I was baking in that fucking field in Downsview?
So if somebody says, oh yeah, I was there, it was like a hot and sunny day, and I could be like, no, you weren't there. It was fucking pissing cats and dogs that day, you liar.
Nice T-shirt. Name me 3 songs.
Which a lot of people do, by the way. I was there, but they weren't there.
Nice T-shirt, kid that's 20. Name me 3 songs from that band.
Like, look, I'll keep it real. I was not at the '87 Pink Floyd tour.
Right.
Although I was 6.5, my parents damn should have taken me, but they didn't. I'm not going to hold it against them.
What was your first concert?
Probably seeing the Beach Boys at Kingswood.
Oh, wow.
With my dad.
The Beach Boys at
yeah, and I remember my dad was pissed because Brian Wilson wasn't there.
Was he in hibernation at that point?
Who knows? Probably.
And
And
like Ted.
Yeah, like this.
yeah, so it was.
Was that at the height where if you went to Wonderland, or if you bought a ticket to the concert, you got to go to Wonderland for free for the day? Because Darien Lake, south of us, which is one of my favorite places to go see concerts, if it's not at Molson Amphitheater, I refuse to call it the other name. That's how it goes. If you buy a ticket to the concert that night,
Yeah, you get access to the park.
Yeah,
and,
it used to be like that at Wonderland.
well, it was the same thing with Exhibition Stadium at the CNE. They used to, you buy a concert ticket and you get access to the CNE for the day.
Right. That's actually where my son went to his first concert. I took him to see Kansas at the CNE.
Oh, yeah.
And then his first ticketed concert was the Rolling Stones, which was pretty cool. And it ended up... Yeah, you were there. We went together. Ended up being the last time that they played together in Canada. COVID happened, and they never did that Vancouver date. And that Burroughs
Chose
Creek
the last Stones.
Yeah,
The Stones.
Yeah,
The
so
Burroughs
that was
Creek.
my son's very first
They'll be
ticketed
back.
concert.
They'll be back. The Stones are never going to stop touring.
But
in fact, I think they just announced another leg of a tour.
Yeah, but it's not the Stones without Wood there, right?
Well, I don't know. You could argue
Charlie
is it the
Watts?
Stones without Charlie Watts, right? So.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. The drummer's Charlie Watts. I messed that up. That's on me.
But,
That's what I was getting at. It's the last.
The Stones are just they're a business. They're an enterprise.
It's like
and
Kiss.
I kind of feel like as long as Mick's kicking around, they can still be the Stones. But they'll probably be one of those bands where even when they're all gone, they're going to keep going.
Do
There's going to
do
be
you think? Oh, really?
yeah, there'll be a whole new generation of
Like a
people.
Grateful Dead type of
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. I could see the Stones touring for couple 100 years, 300 years.
That's
Wow.
an interesting,
Maybe more.
an interesting.
I was hoping Guar
idea.
would do that.
That is what, that is.
You
what
are
Guar
a
would
big
do.
Guar fan.
Yeah, we talked a bit about Guar on the way up.
I'm
I
sure-
tripped him out on the way here. He brought up Guar. I was like, oh, interesting you bring up Guar. So I went to the Flyer Vault, database,
Yeah.
pulled up some Guar.
That was very fast, by the way.
That fucked you up when I showed you that
was
Guar
cool.
flyer.
Yeah, I think that's the show that I might have a pass for. But it was, you said, around 91, so
Yeah.
I'm guessing
With
it
it,
was.
the opening band was called Coffin,
Coffin
Break.
Coffin Break. A
Yeah, so
Canadian band? Or did they have the coffee crisp?
We don't know. We were hoping you might be able to YouTube them or
See if
Google
they're
them,
still
but
around.
maybe we can't right now.
Where's
But
Jamie.
shout out Coffin Break.
Yeah.
Opening up for Guar at Concert Hall in 91, wherever you're at. Hope you guys are good.
Hopefully, Coffee Break is good. Another one that's really I don't know if you've seen this, but I sent it to Ryan, and it's a concert that's now on my bucket list of concerts. Is Mac Sabbath?
Yes.
Have you seen? Can you comment?
The fucking
me?
Ronald, the Hamburglar, fucking, oh man.
Grimace.
That was, I actually just saw them a few days ago.
Really?
My other buddy, Josh, shout out In Vintage We Trust, sent it to me. He's like, yo, have you peeped these guys? I'm like, what the fuck am I looking at? And I saw Mac Sabbath with some like metal Ronald McDonald and all that crazy shit, man. It's funny.
It's amazing. I have to see it live, and I went down the rabbit hole.
I love
And-
McDonald's, by the way. So metal plus McDonald's to me is like match made in heaven.
Like I'm showing up. I'm
or
showing up. I'm showing up with a burger, a brown bag to the show just
Get it
because
signed.
they actually got in front of Ozzy,
Yeah,
Which-
I heard that.
which is crazy. So I mean, there's something to be said about that. And he just laughed the entire time.
Yeah, he enjoyed it.
He enjoyed it. You have to check out Mac Sabbath. I don't think they've come to Canada. If they do, I'm there for sure. But that
Well, we
might be
can
something.
we can pull some money together and book them.
Promote it. Yeah.
Maybe they'll perform right here.
I think
That'd
we're
be
gonna need a
wild.
bigger venue. Like, what's that new one? TD. We'll need at least 500.
TD
people.
Music Hall.
TD Music Hall. If you see this, we want to book Mac Sabbath. So hit us up. They can't have that hot. Like, what's their rider? We need 12 Big Macs, 20-piece nuggets. Like, what could possibly be on their rider?
Actually, you know what we could do also? To do something special for them. We could get them a McDonald's pizza.
Dude.
We can get our homeboy at Old Toronto knows all about the McDonald's pizza. Remember back in the day, the McDonald's pizza came out?
Yep.
So apparently, and this is just some random factoids here. There's
Yeah.
apparently at least 2 McDonald's globally that still produce the Mac pizza.
This is a lie.
Ted knows.
Yeah?
a thing
All
or two
right,
about
let's go.
McPizzas.
What do you got?
You just put the battery in my back.
What do you got?
So, first of all, my love for the McPizza is well documented and well known. I have a McPizza hat. I have a McPizza pin. I have a McPizza apron that I make pizza in. I love the McPizza. I just recently lost out because some guy sold it on me, a McPizza delivery bag. Am I ever going to deliver pizza? No. No, I'm not. But do I want the McPizza delivery bag? Yes. Yes, I do. I, a couple years ago now, did a crazy trade and made the national news where I ended up at Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final during COVID. And I
In the
know,
bubble?
No, the year after, when it was Montreal
And Tampa.
Bay. Now we already went. I know you don't like the Montreal Canadiens. I am a diehard Montreal Canadiens fan. You could not get tickets in Montreal because of the COVID restrictions.
Yeah.
So
But they allowed like 1,000 people in or something, or 2,000?
season
Something
ticket
like that.
holders, the tickets were like.
Was that the
insane.
game where Josh Anderson had that crazy overtime goal?
No. The game that I went to was the game that my team lost the Stanley Cup
Was that in Tampa?
in Tampa.
Oh, so they flew you down to Tampa.
No, okay, I'll tell the story. So this is how it happened. So we got on a tangent. We'll end up at McPizza, where we're going on a bit of a.
We'll get back to McPizza.
We'll end up there.
Yes.
So what happened is sometimes, man, I get these weird inspirations, and I wish I could tell you where they come from. And I decided that because I couldn't get tickets in Montreal, I was going to go on the Tampa Bay Lightning Reddit. And I was going to make a post about how big of a hockey fan I was. And I might get emotional because it was like,
That's cool.
yeah, this is my therapy, actually. I pay for the studio because it's cheaper than actually going to the black leather couch.
Music is life, but hockey is life.
I love it, right? I went to every game of the World Cup when it was in Toronto. Like I went and saw teams that didn't even really matter, really. But anyway, I made the post and said, like, would somebody give me an access code so I could just get some tickets at face value? And you know how Reddit is. People, they're kind of mean on Reddit, right, Ryan?
I guess. I mean,
sometimes they're kind of mean.
can be.
But I rolled with it. And, you know, I came back with witty things about me being Canadian because the main theme of the post became what a Canadian thing to do. And somebody made a joke about, like, what do you have to offer, like maple syrup or something? And I said, like, you know, if somebody can help me obtain 2 tickets in Tampa, I will definitely give them maple syrup.
Yeah.
And a guy hit me up and he was like, hey man, I can get you 2 tickets. I'll help you out. Shout out. Robeson is his Instagram. He follows me
Shout
still.
out Robeson.
Robeson, like 13, I think. You put me on the spot. I wasn't going to tell this story, but he reached out and he said, like, I'm a season ticket holder. I'll get you 2 tickets. And I thought he was getting scammed. And I was like, yeah, right, And yeah, I'll get them for you. No worries. Okay, what game do you want? And I said, well, I'd take game 5 because that was the game that I figured I could make it to and so forth. And then if you recall the way that series went, Montreal was getting fucked up, right?
Yeah. They had one game where they did well. I think they
Game
they,
4.
They won game 4. It wasn't looking good for them, yeah.
So this whole time, this guy never asked me for any money or anything. And that was the one thing where I was like, you know, if he was trying to scam me, he would be asking for money. He'd be trying to get me to transfer, Western Union to Africa or some shit. You know what I mean? Like,
shout out Nigerian princes.
Yeah. All those Nigerian princes that are getting rich, right? But he never asked for any money. So I just kept going along with it. And he made some snide comment. Maybe snide isn't the word because he's a nice guy. But he was like, if it gets that far, if it gets to game 5. And I was like, what? Like, you think my team's getting swept 4 games in a row, bro? You're crazy. Have you seen the run we're on? Like, I remember we just beat Toronto 4 games in a row. Like we're on a run. And I was hyped at this point because my team's in the
Cole
Stanley Cup.
Caulfield would not allow a sweep.
Right? So then we're down 3-0. And I'm like, and he still hasn't asked me for any money. And we're watching the game and I'm talking with him and Montreal wins the game. And he messages me and he's like, okay, like, do you want the tickets? Yeah. All right, no worries. I'll send them to you in the morning. And he sent me the tickets before I ever sent him any money. The deal is I would pay him the face value for the tickets, which if anybody knows how this works, the face value on a ticket was like $150 for upper level. Tampa Bay, even the Stanley Cup, that's premium because that's like a $60 ticket at any other game. And to buy it aftermarket, we're talking like $2,000 because it's game 5 of the Stanley Cup.
Even for Tampa, eh?
Yeah, they were really expensive. About $1,500 US was the cheapest you could find, and I wasn't in the cheapest seat. I was in the middle of the upper level. Moral of the story is I paid him $300, and I brought a liter of maple syrup from right here in tiny Ontario, over in LaFontaine, I believe is where it came from, to Florida. And on the way to Florida, I had a layover in Newark, New Jersey. And I got a phone call, and it was from the CTV Nightly News, national news or something. And I guess they had picked it up off of Instagram that I had traded maple syrup for Stanley Cup final tickets. And I was calling it the greatest trade in hockey history because it doesn't involve a single friggin' player, money, or anything like that. All it involves is a random guy that has no reason to help me in Florida, loving hockey the way we love hockey.
This is just the most quintessential Canadian. This is just Canadiana at its best.
Yes. Netflix. You want one of those short docu-series? Here we go.
This definitely fills CanCon requirements.
Right? Exactly, right? So I'm talking to the person on the phone, and they're telling me the deal is. One night, I was smoking way too much weed, and I got a weird idea to go on Reddit and make a plea to Tampa Bay Lightning fans to give me tickets to the Stanley Cup Finals for face value, and I offered maple syrup, and somebody did it. And she's like, okay, I know you're on a layover. When you get to your hotel room, give us a call. We're going to put you on the nightly news. So there I am, you know, me just being me, stumbling through life, and I'm end up on CTV National News talking about trading a liter of maple syrup.
Oh man! I'm gonna have to check. Is that on YouTube? I can check the nightly clip.
Yeah, even if you go on my page, it's on there somewhere. You just see my stupid ass in my grandfather's corduroy Montreal Canadiens hat, circa 1991. He got himself one, me one, my cousin one, and neither me or my cousin have ours, but I inherited it from my grandfather, so I wore that because it was again, you don't know when your team's going to make it to the Stanley Cup. I remember seeing my team win the Stanley Cup, and I was very young, but my parents let me stay up to watch it. As a Canadian, that was like, it's a deeply rooted memory of my childhood watching hockey in general, but remembering that. And I vowed to myself that if I ever got that opportunity, I wouldn't take it lightly, because, you know, there's people that I know that may never get that opportunity. Hopefully, one day Toronto will win a Stanley Cup, because that will be the biggest party the universe has ever seen.
Well, the crazy thing is, and obviously I think about this a lot, I've been thinking about it since I was a child because I'm a Leafs fan.
This is what I was getting at.
But, you know, hopefully in my lifetime, if the Leafs make it to the Cup, it'd be crazy because every away game would actually be a home game.
100%.
Because every Leafs fan would just take over. Doesn't matter what, it could be Tampa, it could be Pittsburgh.
It's like that in regular away games.
You know, it could be, well, it wouldn't be, okay, if Stanley Cup would be Western Conference, whatever, you know what I'm saying. It could be LA, it could be whatever team. And the away game's going to be a home game for the Leafs, which would give them the great advantage. Now, let's just hope we get to that point. I mean, fuck, I've been waiting 42 years now for that, but...
Well, and this is the point of, I remember Montreal 2014, Carey Price. They were getting close that year, and Kreider ran into Carey Price. Fuck you, Kreider. Anyway.
I also remember the 2010 Cinderella run by the Habs when they had Halak in net.
That's another one,
Plekanec was on that team.
Yeah. That might even be the
maybe
one.
Maybe even Surrey was playing with them back then. And I remember, I watch a lot of hockey, right? And I don't remember it all, but I do remember that run because I was like, holy shit, they were 8th seed in the East. And they beat the Capitals.
Yep.
And I think they went to the conference final, man.
So I think that was the year, because I remember saying to my now ex-wife, probably for a reason, if the Habs make it to the finals, I don't care what I have to pay or where I have to go or what I have to do. Like, if I have to remortgage the house, I'm going to the Stanley Cup final to watch the Montreal Canadiens, because I may never, ever, ever, ever get this chance. And just like live music and, you know, gold medal games, these are things that live forever in time, and I want to be a part of it.
So you flew all the way there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And
made it to the national news. Only to be utterly disappointed.
I wasn't, and this is the thing.
Devastated.
Not even. So I land in Florida with expectations set that I'm a hockey fan. I'm watching my team compete for the greatest trophy in all of sports. And best case scenario, my team wins and we have life. And the optimist in me says, we just did this. Like, I remember when we were down to the Leafs and it was the impossible comeback.
Oh, God, don't remind me.
Right? So, but...
Remember when Tavares got his head clocked on that hit?
Smoked.
I forget who it was, but he got a knee to the... Dude, I thought he was dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like Sidney Crosby looking concussion type shit, right?
That was a crazy series.
I'm
still recovering from that series.
I was on a boat during Game 7 of that series, and when we had a TV set up in the middle of Ontario on a boat, tuning in to the Game 7. But I knew that if I was going there, I was going to see my team win, or I was going to see a team win the Stanley Cup, and I was going to get to witness it.
You could see Lord Stanley's mug. That's a consolation
for forever. From now until the end of time, I can say that I was there to watch someone win the Stanley Cup. I went to Game 5 of the Stanley Cup.
So when the clock was winding down and the inevitable reality set in, how were you feeling?
So you have to be a certain type of person. First of all, I went to the game with a person named Polly Paul, who is on MTV.
Shout out Polly Paul.
Polly Paul, shout out Polly Paul. He's on MTV for a TV show called Siesta Key, which is a place near Tampa. So he's kind of like a local celebrity. And I went to the game with him because I had 2 tickets. And so I took him. So, and I was wearing the Habs jersey. And you have to be a certain type of person to go and sit at a game that important in another team's arena, down 3-1, and sit amongst all of these people and watch hockey and enjoy it and not feel like you're out of your element.
How many other Habs fans were there?
None.
Wow.
None in my section.
Fish out of water here.
So I saw
really.
some people wearing jerseys in the but you got to remember, it was also during COVID. This was when Florida was the only place in the world
Packed
that was
arenas, yeah.
packed arenas. I remember walking through the arena and thinking like, wow, this is what this used to feel like. You know,
DeSantis country.
Yeah, exactly. It was all fake down there, and there was very few Montreal fans. And when I showed up in the section, all of the people around me were like, "Oh fuck, here's this Canadiens fan. He's gonna be an asshole." Yada yada yada. But the thing about me is that I'm a pretty fair guy. So when we got a penalty and it was a penalty, I didn't bitch. I was like, nah, you can't fucking do that. That's a penalty. You know, like when they scored, I clapped, I cheered. You know what I mean? Like I watched the hockey
So
game.
you for sure would have been on Hockey Night in Canada. Like if you're the only Habs sweater in the whole arena, for sure some shots went to you.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
gotta
I was
go
up,
back
I was
and
up-
watch that game.
I was up top. I know that I got sent like a thing at one point where it was like a screenshot, and you could see just like this one red sweater up in the upper level of me. But moral of the story is that throughout the game, you know, if they got a penalty and it wasn't a penalty, I was like, come on, that's some bullshit. You know, like you're fucking soft, ref. You know, like I was chirping the ref for both sides. I was calling the game fairly the way it was, and I wasn't, you know, being obnoxious or anything like that. I
Yeah.
was cheering for my team, but I was cheering for the game
Yeah.
because I love the game of hockey. So by the end of it, everyone around me, they were cool with me. I was giving them high fives. I was congratulating them on winning the cup. And everyone in my section, they were like, yeah, like they were really, really, really hospitable
So
to
this
me.
guy who gave you these tickets, this is just what, like a hockey Make-A-Wish Foundation kind of situation? Like he just,
I don't know.
here
man.
you go.
So you gave
He
him
didn't ask
cash.
for any money at all?
I gave him the money he
Yeah.
paid for the tickets, which was $300 US, face value.
Oh, so you paid face
Face value.
Okay.
And I mailed him we're getting to the McPizza, from Orlando.
I didn't forget about McPizza.
You know, we're going there.
Yep.
This is a long story, but it hasn't been fully documented the way that
I
would
want this
document
story to be tied with a nice bow at the end, a McPizza like bow. I'm waiting eagerly.
I mailed it to him. I mailed him the maple syrup, and yes, that's all he asked for. He asked for the money he paid for the tickets, and a liter of the finest maple syrup from Canada and
Fontaine, Ontario.
La Fontaine.
LaFontaine.
La Fontaine,
Shout out
Ontario.
Pat LaFontaine.
Yes,
Yep.
great buffalo saver. So after the game, I had one girl, the savvy mom, who's an Instagram celebrity or TikTok influencer girl, who made a comment about like later loser on her TikTok, and I basically said, I'm not a loser. I'm a winner. I just watched someone win the Stanley Cup, and you know it's a.
Your team's a
It's
loser.
How could I be a loser? I just saw like the greatest trophy in sport be won, and like I can't remember my exact. I was pretty poetic about it though, and then all of a sudden I got tagged with this video, and she was getting trashed on TikTok, torn up about how pathetic Tampa Bay fans were and bandwagoners, and how that's a real hockey fan. The guy in the Habs look how cool and calm and collected, to your point. Like, how was the
So
atmosphere?
you got
like,
the whole country behind you.
basically, it was like, yeah, I was by myself walking out of that arena, me and Polly Paul. First of all, people are stopping him, and then seeing him with this guy wearing a Habs jersey, which probably
Canadian
didn't look
hockey fans are not to
doesn't
be
help
fucked
him.
with.
No. It was about the game. And anyway, moral of the story is that we've become friends, me and the girl that was like later loser. It's a joke between me and her now because I'm a friendly Canadian, and that's how it happened. I left there on the snack venture that I do, and I went to the only place that sells McPizza
There you go.
The
There's
only.
The only one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was wrong. It's not two.
There used to be two.
There's one.
There used to be two. There was one in Ohio and one in West Virginia that sold the actual McPizza, which we all know is a pan pizza.
Yes.
Okay. Now those do not exist anymore. They tote that the Orlando McDonald's, which is the world's biggest McDonald's apparently, sells McPizza. So I had to investigate because of my deep found love of McPizza. And I went there, and what I can say is, and anybody that knows McDonald's, you are an aficionado, you said.
Indeed, I am.
Everything's in-house with McDonald's. So the cookies say McDonald's on them. You don't see, except for Coca-Cola, you don't see brand names of other companies on their stuff. The chicken burgers come in a McDonald's box. The da-da-da. Everything is McDonald's branded, built by McDonald's, in-house, supply chain, locked. So I show up at the McDonald's in Orlando for the McPizza, and what we actually have at the Orlando McDonald's is a wood-fired oven and Cisco products that make a pizza. It is presented to you in a box that doesn't say McPizza on it. It doesn't even say McDonald's. The box, again, because I have industry experience in the food industry, it said Cisco on the box. And all of the ingredients behind the counter, which I went and looked at, none of them said McPizza sauce or McDough.
That's not McPizza. As soon as you said wood fire oven,
How big were
that's
the
not
pizzas?
wood. That's not McPizza.
They were like about a 10 or 12-inch pizza.
So it's not a personal pan pizza.
No.
And it's not McPizza.
No.
It definitely was not.
So there's a big
McPizza.
asterisk after, oh, this is the only one that serves. That's not really McPizza, man.
It's not McPizza.
It's got to be greasy. It's got to be in a McDonald's branded box. It's got to be a pan style, and it's got to taste like 1992.
100% agree. I
Only
went there.
4 slices.
I did the review. I ate the pasta, which is another thing that they lay claim to, and McPasta, which is, again, just the same thing of some sort of food service grade shit that they're giving you. It's Orlando. Everything has to be special, though, is the point of this, right? But the end of it all is McPizza is dead. And any chance that I get, every single time McDonald's Canada makes a post where they're like, ooh, something new is coming. Spicy fucking nuggets or Big Mac sauce in packets, which is the new thing right now. I say back to them, what the people really want is McPizza.
Absolutely. The original OG McPizza.
Did you end up going to the only one?
So that is it. The Orlando is the
that
only.
was the only
That's
one.
the only
Oh,
one.
I thought you were going to
So
say
you see how
that's
you
the
see how
second
you
one.
bringing up Mac Sabbath just took us on this rabbit hole of hockey in Mac Pizza.
Yeah,
Yes.
and McPizza, yeah. So
I'm gonna grab another brew.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's
What?
right. I'll
Shout
grab
out who
one.
Brian, you
you're
want one?
drinking.
No, I'll grab you. I'll grab it.
All right.
Shout out what you're drinking. You're
Yeah,
drinking-
shout out Old Toronto long slice. I got a care package, and here we are. I haven't tried it until right now. It tastes like nostalgia.
Awesome.
It tastes very good actually. I'm gonna go grab another one. I'll be back.
He's gonna grab you.
Oh, okay.
He's got it for you.
Yeah, it's cool actually. So yeah, this one's called Paddling the Lagoon, mid 1970s, and this looks like the Toronto Islands.
Okay.
So he took a picture
Cool.
of I guess maybe saw this in the archives or somewhere, but this is the Toronto Islands, everyone on the boat in the 1970s, and they put it on a beer can, and it's pretty cool.
That's very cool. I'm
Yeah,
drinking
shout
the
out Old Toronto.
Old Toronto. I don't drink beer.
Yo,
I
check
drink
that
liquor.
out.
What's this?
You recognize that place? We were talking about it earlier. We'll get to this in a bit. Let's keep it in the fridge. Keep it cold.
Oh, that's Exhibition Stadium.
Yeah.
I have some seats from this.
You really from the grandstand?
The bleachers, like the
Wow.
aluminum blue ones. I have a three set or a four set.
How'd you get that?
I found it on Marketplace.
Oh, that's awesome.
I found them on Marketplace for a deal, and it's one of those things that's sitting in my garage. Who knows if I'll ever do anything with it? I might
That's
not. I may.
cool history, man.
I have a Forum seat as well, a seat out of the Montreal Forum that I got.
I
Yeah.
wonder. I wanted to get one of the Massey Hall seats.
That would be sick.
I don't know what happened with that. I don't know if they went on auction or if they were for sale or if they've been stored somewhere. But it'd be really cool to have an original, like 1940 Massey Hall hard wood seat and just put it in on my breakfast bar in my kitchen or something.
Tell me it wouldn't fit in here. In this place, if you walked in here and there was just like a pair of Massey Hall seats in this studio,
I would
you'd freak out.
I would kiss it.
That'd make a good gift for you. Would be a seat from the amp. If I could get you like a bleacher 100 level amp seat.
That might happen. And in fact, if anybody from Live Nation is watching this, because the Molson amp or the
Bud stage
is gonna be demolished.
Yeah.
There's I don't know if you've seen the plans.
I did.
There's going to be an insane, I don't know, what do you want to call it, renovation, revitalization of that whole area as part of the big Ontario Place redevelopment that's happening.
Yep.
And the Bud Stage, as we know it, is no longer going to exist. It's actually going to be a convertible venue. So basically you're going to have, from what I saw from the renderings, is there's going to be a newly built amphitheater, outdoor amphitheater.
Right.
And then under the lawns, there's going to be an indoor venue.
Interesting.
Right? So all that space under the sloped lawns, they're building another venue, and it's going to obviously be a lot more versatile.
Yep.
And then, of course, that's going to be part and parcel of the whole Ontario Place renovation, which is also happening. So crazy things are happening in our city with, the Ontario line.
Yep.
Subway and the Ontario Place. But to my point, though, is when they start the construction, maybe there'll be an opportunity to buy some seats from the amphitheater, and you can cop one.
Well, when they switched from the Molson Amphitheater to Bud Stage and they ripped down the letters from the outside, I have the M.
Get out.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, as somebody...
Can I buy it off you?
No.
I want to put it in my kitchen.
No way. As somebody, how many seasons did you do at the amp?
I did 13.
13 years at the amp. As somebody who spent that much time at the amphitheater, how does it feel to hear that they're gonna change it around? Because to me, like
it's a good idea. I like the fact that it's going to be like an all year round venue. You'll be able to close it off. During the winters and use it all year round. And
I just am like,
you're a purist. You're a traditionalist.
Somebody says Molson Park, I cry. Because
we were at Molson Park today.
Yeah, we were really close.
Yeah, in the shopping center. Like there's venues to me that I've just seen so much in that I know that this has to happen. I know that it's part of the game. I know that it's for the better, but I hope that it benefits artists by having another venue of a certain capacity for people to play in Toronto and to come in the winter months because that venue is obviously a summer venue. But I hope that they keep some of the feel. I hope that it pays homage. I haven't seen the
I hope they don't fuck it up. And that's
I hope they don't fuck it up, man.
When the Massey Hall renovation was starting or on the cusp of starting, a lot of people were very nervous because you have a very legendary heritage venue that has, well over a century of history. There's an aura to it. And once you start bringing in contractors and shovels and drills, you think to yourself, how can this history be preserved? Are we just going to pave over it, destroy it? So that was a big concern. And I know my co-author, Rob was concerned about it. But, now that everything is kind of said and done and the whole Massey Hall project is complete, I can say that they did it well. They didn't fuck it up. They didn't pave over the history. They really appreciated and respected the history of Massey Hall. They preserved so many elements, the stained glass. They created new sort of museum exhibits all around the venue. And I mean, I don't know if you've been inside there, but you still get that feeling of the history, like if these walls could talk.
Yeah,
right?
I haven't been there since
you
they
get that
renovated.
feeling when you walk in, and so this was a renovation done right.
That's awesome.
And so you're hoping that places like Bud Stage, Molson Amphitheater, when they get renovated, that they can still sort of preserve the essence of the history and all the classic shows that have been there, and not just make it some shiny, highly corporate, brand new thing. So that's what we hope.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even I enjoy that they got the Echo Beach there as well, to be honest. That's a pretty cool venue to have just kind of one-off bands, or not, I shouldn't say one-off, but up-and-coming bands.
Yeah, and weren't you at Rolling Loud this summer?
That was me.
I think you and I were trying to connect at Rolling Loud, but it was interesting how they made the parking lot basically the concert grounds.
Yeah.
But it was a whole like
they did that for Digital Dreams.
it was a whole
as well.
pavilion.
Yeah.
Well, you were at the Wu-Tang show. Wasn't it like there was a show that we went to? Maybe you'll remember, but there was a show we went to that was a couple days before Rolling Loud, where they were showing us. Oh, this is where they had
Wu-Tang
the
and
stage
Nas.
up. Was it Wu-Tang and Nas that was just a little bit?
Yeah, that was it.
And like I'm like, that's a lot of blacktop. That's a lot of blacktop. I had a different obvious perspective from Rolling Loud. I didn't have to see it too much from the opposite side. I spent a lot of time backstage and seeing it from the stage side. I did go out and spend a little bit of time in the crowd, and I'm so happy that went off without any serious issues.
Yeah.
I just remember the weeks leading up to that event and just thinking, like, please, Toronto, for the love of it,
Yeah, I think
don't fuck this up.
I think the biggest issue people were complaining about was that I know a couple of rappers got dropped in like the last like 24 48 hours before
That was
the show.
Moolah.
That was Moolah.
Moolah got dropped, yeah.
Yeah, and he went on IG was bitching out the promoters about why he got dropped. Who knows? And then the other thing people
he said they're going to pay, or he made some ominous video statement that was up for interpretation because he's very crafty. I don't know how much you know about Moolah. I'd love to have him here because he's a very crafty individual. He's a character.
shout out Moolah.
And he left it up for interpretation in the proper way that it wasn't, and he's fine-tuned the kind of the troll of Toronto without really being a troll. Like you saw, he bought out Wendy's and, just has done
That was a boss move.
I guess.
I can't buy out Wendy's. I don't got that kind of paper.
I guess that's I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Maybe a couple supersized extra value meals or whatever, but
I didn't like
Double
JBC,
cheeseburgers.
yeah, JBCs and kids meals. Yeah, I guess that's a boss move. Like to go in, like in the grand scheme of rap, it's not because Jay-Z could go in and buy Harbor 60.
It's okay.
Like
It's a ghetto boss move, but it's still a boss move.
I just want to know who ate all of those nuggets and like, did he give it to all the homeless people or like what happened? Maybe we need to get Moolah on here to talk about it. But moral of the story is leading up to that event, Rolling Loud went off better than most shows in Toronto.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Rolling Loud. Like, granted, I'm not so plugged in with like all the new trap and rap going on.
Yeah.
I didn't even really know about Dave until I saw Dave perform. I'm like, damn, this guy's good.
Yeah. I questioned the headliners going in.
Yeah.
I questioned the only one I didn't question was Trippy, and that was because I have a relationship with Trippy. But I didn't know most of the headliners going in, like Migos, and then it got dropped. Like there was a lot of changes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Dave was dope.
Dave was dope, and then right before Dave, I went to the side stage. I saw Ray Strummerd, and they're okay. They weren't too bad. They had some good energy. But then I saw Dave, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, I like this UK shit."
Yeah, it was dope. He knows how to command a crowd. That's for sure. Like they definitely were.
But I was very impressed with just the production. Really, it was just a professional.
Yeah.
You had Live Nation and the Rolling Loud, and I mean to manage the logistics of that many rappers and their entourages,
I have some
and
insight
demands,
into that.
and God knows what else. Doing one rap show is very difficult because rappers are divas.
Are you
we
trying
know
to
this.
say rappers are difficult? Are you trying to say rappers are difficult?
So to do like 3 stages over 3 days with like 50 rappers and rap groups and whatnot, I was, and with for it to go off without a hitch was very impressive.
So I have some
Absolutely.
insight into that because I was in the rapper entourage.
That's right.
Of course you were.
Of course I was. I
You brought 'em snacks.
drove my van through all of the police and everything to the back of stage number 2 on day 2. And the person that I was with said to me, Ted, this isn't normal, dude. Like, you shouldn't have been able to roll through here like that. Like, this is rolling loud. There's dogs. There's cops. There's searches. There's
Hip hop police.
the hip hop police. And like, he's like, we're literally 25 meters from the stage right now, and you're in your minivan and nobody's gone through it. And I went back to the Live Nation office to pick up some passes and rolled back through it again. And when I rolled back through, the person was like, how the fuck did you get back here? And me just being me, I was like, oh man, I just rolled up and told them where I was going, what I was doing. And we ended up going through. They took us back, and it was over in behind exhibition, and you roll the car in and they block your car in, and you get out of your car, and the police go through your car. They search your car.
Oh, you see your car got searched.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I had a whole bunch of weed with me, right? But I can have a lot of weed because I have a medical license.
Well, and it's Canada.
Well, I mean, Canadians can have 30 grams of weed with them when they go places. I
Oh,
can't-
really?
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a limit on personal carry.
That's ridiculous when you consider I could have
Like it's legal.
100 cases of beer, right? No one, everyone would just be like waving at me like I'm the fucking queen.
Ridiculous.
I can carry 180 grams, to put it into perspective. So I had a whole bunch of weed with me, and I just kind of put it in my bag and put a bunch of snacks with it and everything, and just kept it cool like a cucumber. Did the metal detectors and all of that, and for a concert called Rolling Loud, I smoked 2 cartons of backwoods and almost a half a pound of weed in 2 days when I was there, just rolling blunts. There's videos of me smoking blunts with Slump God, Ski Master Slump God.
You enjoyed yourself.
I had a good time, but moral of the story is the one night that there was a delay, Future and Trippy both were delayed because they were getting the overall treatment from the hip hop police.
Yep.
And
Old story.
yeah, you know, metal detectors and pat downs and all of the things that they didn't want to have happen. And the
Someone
show must
should
go
someone
on.
should write a book of like every time a rapper has tweeted about how shitty their treatment was from Canada Customs when they were trying to enter the country. It actually reminds me of OVO Fest this year when
Lil Wayne?
Or how
when
many
Drake
rappers
trolled the
didn't get
crowd
Yeah.
by saying like Lil Wayne had trouble at the border.
Yeah, but
Yes.
Drake runs the border.
I remember that.
So recently, Kodak Black was in the news for showing up late for a show and trying to pay his way onto the stage after hours.
Yeah, you sent me that.
Yeah. And
He tried to bribe his way to the stage.
Well,
his
he-
own
Yeah.
stage.
yeah, so he was a
Yes.
headline.
That's his stage.
And he, yeah. And he showed up
exactly.
late. And you know,
He was late.
11. There's hard.
I fucking hate concert curfews. I
Hard
really do.
11.
I understand there's unions. I understand there's like noise complaints, bylaws, and all that bullshit. But I fucking hate concert curfews because, frankly, the best concerts that I've ever been to like started at 11
Oh fuck
Yeah.
yeah.
or later.
Like Hunter. Hunter invited me to a show. In order to see him play, I have to show up at 1 a.m. and stay until 5. Like, I don't know, man. Different kind of snacks, I
It's a
think.
long show.
Yeah. But to that point, it was he tried to pay his way through it, and they wouldn't let him. And I made the joke about Champagne Poppy with the, what was it, 10,000 a minute or something like that,
Something
or
ridiculous.
50,000 a minute
What,
in fines.
his
and-
rate?
and no.
I mean, once
When
you
he
go
goes over,
over.
because you know he
Oh.
goes over OVO Fest, he
Right.
he pays
and then
the
he just
fine.
pays the
He just throws up
the
fine.
unions are charging 3 times after 11.
It's something obscene like $5,000 a minute or 50 grand a minute, or I think it's I think I remember $5,000 a minute. Do you know?
I don't know 100% now.
I thought it was 5,000 a minute that you go over. But
See,
and he goes
these
over.
are the little nuances that, to me, make the concert experience lessened. You know, because
It should
this
be
whole
rigid.
rush to, oh my God, it's almost 11, lights are going to go on, so we can't get an encore, or we can't get 3 encores, or we can't rock until, you know, because sometimes bands are really feeling the energy and they want to fucking keep going. They don't care about their set list. They want to jam for maybe an hour. And we can't because of some arbitrary 11 p.m. bylaw or something. Like, it's ridiculous to me. But it's so typical Toronto. It's like, these are the little things we need to dismantle to like make this a more fun city.
So the most famous that I can think of, and I was in attendance at this one, you may remember this, the most famous hard curfew Toronto fuck you was at the
Pearl Jam show?
No. Kanye. They cut Kanye's mic mid-performance, hard 11 at the Rogers Center. He was performing at the final ceremonies for, I want to say, the Pan American Games.
Oh, yeah. That was the Commonwealth Games.
Commonwealth Games.
And then he took the mic,
and he
remember?
threw it.
And he threw it right up in the air.
Yeah. But they literally, like, he was, like, right in the middle, and they just, lights on, cut his mic.
But the show continued later that night at the Hoxton.
See, and these are the things that the Flyer Vault knows.
And Kanye was there, and Drizzy was there, and that's one of those like legendary shows.
And probably is in the book, the Flyer Vault.
Well, no, it's not in the book because the book stops in the year 2000, and we definitely have to do a second edition from like 2000 to present.
There's a lot of dope shit that's happened in the last 23 years.
I've done a couple Hoxton posts actually in the last few weeks, and they're always a hit, man, because people have such awesome memories of that place, and now that place is going to become a subway station. Crazy, eh?
Do you know who did the final show at the Hoxton?
I don't actually. Do you?
Yes, DJ Hunter.
Facts.
DJ Hunter.
Shout out Hunter.
I tagged Hunter on your post when it had all of the people, and I believe on that post,
the word map.
Yeah, and I believe on that he's Hunter Segal because he was Hunter Segal at that time.
And now he's just Hunter.
He's just I did an interview with him. It's just like Prince. It's just Hunter.
I like it.
Yeah,
just Hunter.
But he did the final show there. I'm sure they went into the wee hours, kind of like similar to when they closed down the warehouse, and it was to the wee hours of the morning.
Cool House
warehouse.
Yeah, so like how you say it with the German accent. I actually remember when I was like 21, and I was like, what? They're renaming the warehouse the Cool House
to the Cool House. Yeah. That was the big change. It wasn't just from cool or from where to cool. It was warehouse to Cool House. I
just thought that was a weird name, but then nobody cared, and everyone's like, all right, let's go party and at the Cool House.
Or they just kept calling it the warehouse.
Like,
I still call it the Amp.
Or if you were like a real OG, it would be like, it's not the government, it's RPM.
Right.
That's right.
Right? Like, yeah, you are an OG.
The first time
that's the RPM to you.
First time NoFX came back after they changed it, I grabbed a shirt from that show, and I remember because it said Cool House, and it had 3 question marks after.
Right, because they didn't know where the fuck
they went. Why did you guys change this?
Where the fuck are we?
Yeah, that's some real obscure Toronto trivia. It's like, why did they name it Cool House? What's the story?
At least it wasn't corporate branding. Back to that point, a lot of the venues in the United States of America, especially the outdoor ones, are going back from their DTE Energy Music Center and corporate branding to their adopted names of Pine Knob and Deer Creek and a lot of these.
One thing I'll never get over is why they didn't just look. If Rogers had to have its name on it, then just call it the Rogers Skydome.
I think
but
everyone ever thought
the Rogers Center is probably the lamest name for a venue in the history of venue names. And everyone loved the Skydome. The logo was awesome. It had the Thunderbolt. Domer was like a wicked mascot. Like, we all loved Skydome.
Yes.
And I still have not gotten over the fact that they renamed it to the lame Rogers Center.
And
they got to bring back Skydome, man. They really do.
They better, but aren't they gonna? I think they're gonna tear that shit down too.
Well, they're gutting it right now. They're renovating it, and I saw the renderings. It looks actually pretty impressive. There's gonna be all sorts of like pavilions and like chill out bar areas and things like that.
I heard about that on the radio. I did not see the drawings like you have. You've seen a lot of renderings.
Yes, I it's kind of one of my hobbies is just looking at renderings. I enjoy them.
So, first concert that you went to was the Beach Boys with your dad.
Yeah, so I don't know if that like truly counts because it was like with my dad, and I was just brought along.
It better count. I took my kid to the fucking Rolling Stones. Don't tell me it doesn't count.
Okay, it counts, but it wasn't like the first concert I went to on my own volition.
What was the first concert that you went to on your own?
That would have been what was supposed to be a Wu-Tang Clan concert at 11 Polson Street before it was even known as the Docks.
Right.
And this would have been September 1995. So the entire Wu-Tang Clan performing at 11 Polson, $25 at the door, no advance tickets.
Wow, only at the door.
A grimy Kinko's flyer.
Fuck yes.
Right, with like 34 fonts.
And you have the flyer, obviously.
Of course. And I posted it.
It's in the book?
It's on the book, but I posted it. Definitely some misspellings. I think they called it, it wasn't Ghostface Killa, it was Ghostface Killer.
Killer, yeah.
Yep.
I was like, that's a typo.
Yeah. Somebody's secretary was being way too unurban.
Yeah. And no advance tickets. That's red flag number one. But anyways, that was my first show. We showed up. Me and my friend Adam, shout out Adam, we were such Wu-Tang, bass heads, man. We just couldn't get enough of Wu-Tang, right?
Yeah.
And so we got there early. So we showed up like true nerds at like 4 p.m. This is like before sound check.
Right.
And somehow, I mean, there's no security hasn't even arrived yet. It's that early.
They think you're with the band.
Yeah. So we walk in. They're setting up, and we just sit down, and we're just chilling. And within an hour, then we see Raekwon. He rolls in. Ghostface rolls in. We see Capadonna. We're like, damn, these are like our heroes, right?
Yeah.
So
Nice.
Raekwon started playing pool, and we went up to them. We're just like, it's great to meet you and stuff. We were just like total fanboys.
Right.
And we basically just stayed there until showtime. So we didn't even end up like having to buy a ticket at the door because we were already inside.
In the bar. Nice.
This man just said he snuck into his first concert.
Yeah.
And it was a Wu-Tang show.
So then the doors open and the crowd starts filing in. And man, this was a rough crowd.
Right.
This was a rough crowd. Scarborough Hoods were there.
It's a Wu-Tang show in 95.
Weston Road, Rexdale Hoods were there.
Right.
Like this was nothing to play with, right? And so basically what ended up happening, long story short, is
You can go long story long.
all right, well, goes so the place is smoked out. It's a very rough crowd. Tims and hoodies and bubble down jackets and hockey jerseys, and we're just trying to like be cool because I don't want to get robbed or like whatever. We just want to listen to good music. And then Ghostface, Raekwon, Capadonna go on stage and start performing songs from Raekwon's album, Only Built for Cuban Links.
Classic.
Which is great. They're performing Criminology, Glaciers of Vice, Verbal Intercourse. I'm very happy.
Yeah.
The crowd wasn't so happy.
No, they're looking
because
for Method Man.
they wanted Method
ODB.
Man. Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they wanted. And the fact, it became apparent that this was not a full Wu-Tang Clan show. This was basically the Ray Ghost and Capadonna show, which,
Right.
again, for me would have been sufficient, of course, because these guys were legends, and Only Built for Cuban Links had been out for, like, I don't know, 3-4 months or whatever it was, and I loved that album.
Yeah.
And that's when things started flying. Like somebody threw a lighter, and then somebody else started throwing something, and then shit was being tossed around, and then it just got out of control. And before I knew it, like people were breaking like the glass, and that's when. And so this is probably like maybe 4 or 5 songs in.
Wow.
Ghost and Ray exit like stage left.
Yeah, they bounce.
And basically like a little mini riot ensued. I do have a vivid memory of a cash register being thrown at a glass door.
Wow.
And just crashing the door and all the glass falling.
That's awesome.
Luckily, my dad was outside.
Waiting for you.
Because he was he was sleeping in the car.
Your dad was sleeping in the car.
Yeah. Well, how else was
cool.
going to get home? So my dad said he would wait outside and he would listen to like his blues music in the car. Like, you know, he was into like Howlin' Wolf and all that stuff.
I definitely know.
So he would sit in the car and wait for us. And then he was totally oblivious to the mayhem that was going on literally a few feet from him. But me and Adam and a couple other friends that we ended up meeting at the show just bolted out the front door while, again, people are fighting, cash registers are being thrown, got into my dad's car. One of my friends jumped into my dad's trunk because I had like 5 or 6 guys with me,
Right.
all from Thornhill, where I grew up.
Get the hell out of here.
We're like, Dad, book it. And so my dad just wakes up startled out of his slumber, and books it. And before we know it, we're on to the DVP back home. And that was my first concert.
And
And shout out Big Apple, who's the promoter.
Hey, Big Apple.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
With all due respect to Big Apple, I mean, if he didn't have all 9 locked contracts, guarantees set, maybe you shouldn't have put them all on the flyer. But I'm still happy that at least I got 5 or 6 songs from Ghost, Raekwon, and Capadonna.
First of all, shout out Big Apple.
Shout out Big Apple.
He's a Toronto legend.
Facts.
Live Nation in 2022 can't get all those motherfuckers together.
That's right.
Well, yeah, because Meth wasn't at the recent one with Nas, right? A lot of people were upset about that.
How many times have you seen Wu-Tang Clan perform?
All of them?
Where it was all of them.
I'll tell you. It was at, ironically, Rebel,
Yeah.
which is the
30th.
same place where the Hexo. Remember the weed company?
Okay, so there.
Were you there?
Yeah, I was there with my wife.
So there's
And
concert number 1.
They were
Ted.
all there, and
Yes.
ODB's son
was there.
was there as
was there.
So
his father.
that's the first concert where all 3 of us were in the room and we didn't know it. My story
There you
about
go.
that is we went and saw Wu-Tang Clan earlier that year out in Kitchener. I believe it was at Bingham, whatever that is out there. And Method Man didn't show up. And it's kind of fairly well documented that there's a good chance either him or RZA isn't going to show up. It's usually like one or the other. There's been a number of times where it's happened. So he didn't show up, and you know.
You were saying this to a guy on that little boat ride on the way in to that Wu-Tang show, and he was like, no, he's like, they're all going to be here.
Yeah, and I was giving him the like, okay, but I'm telling you, like, I've been to see Wu-Tang many times. Good chance one of them's not going to show up.
Busta Rhymes always also left, didn't he? Because he went to
this year
Chappelle's.
he went to see Chappelle. That was this year.
He performed for Chappelle.
But
that's
they
right.
didn't show up for that Bingham Method Man. And then I had a booth at that Hexo private party, side stage, bottle service. And that's the only time that they all showed up. And I've seen them 5 times now.
That was a great show.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. But my theory in that is that there was, first of all, I think a ton of bread for that private party.
Yeah.
And I think
bread that I imagine this cannabis company wish it held on to.
I think it could be out of business. I don't
These
know.
days.
I don't know if it's still in
Hexo,
business.
I
I'm not
think it
sure
was.
where it went. I think most cannabis companies have gone out of business.
That's a whole nother topic.
That was last week's episode. But yeah, they that was a club setting. That was also
That was dope.
That was one of those things like seeing Rage. Like when I was there, I was like, okay, this is a Wu-Tang show. I've seen them outside at a festival. I've seen them do their dumb down, but it felt the vibe was there. Even without ODB, when his son came out, the room got electric. And it was.
And for me, it was like full circle. It's like finally I did,
get to see them
20 years later, get to see
them all.
the whole 9 at the same location.
That's dope.
Right?
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's dope. Yeah.
Nature's calling, by the way.
Yeah, okay. Hit the
back.
studio loo. When you come back, we'll try some snacks.
Right on.
Okay, so Ryan, you're going to tell people how we met, and I'm going to roll a blunt.
All right.
You're going to tell them the story. Give them some insight into the Snackman, since you're a dear friend of mine for many years, and you've known me well before all of the
Snack life.
snack life and so forth. Feel free to be as uncensored as you'd like to be.
All right.
I'm gonna roll a blunt and give you a little podium.
No problem. So, I saw you coming to shows at the AMP and I guess at the ACC at the time. And you were coming to, if I was working 20 shows, you were coming to like 50% of those shows or more. And you were also coming to random shows. You'd be at like Future one night. I think Future.
Yeah, Future.
And then like a Shania Twain show or something like along those lines. And just
Offspring, Counting Crows.
Yes, I saw. Yeah. And anyways, so I saw you at all these shows, and a guy that I was working with at the time, Pat.
Rest in peace to Pat, man. Pat's
Pat
the OG.
was yeah. He and I always talked because we both saw you. We're like, who the fuck is this guy? I'm like, first of all, how does he get enough money for all these fucking tickets? I'm like, is he sneaking in?
The security thought I was sneaking in the back door.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
No, but anyways, I ended up talking to you, and fuck, ever since then, we've been to a few shows now, and I think I've taken you to probably some of your most memorable shows.
So, yeah, I was a Toronto concert guy.
But you had never seen.
But I was known for, seeing Garth Brooks twice in one night, and then the next day seeing Radiohead, and then seeing a rapper, and, going side to side as far as the music goes. And but you had a few suggestions for concerts. Welcome back, Daniel. You had a few suggestions for concerts of bands that I just, if I loved concerts the way I said I loved concerts, which you knew I did, that I just had to see I had to experience
A few. One of them being Slipknot. I think that was the first one that I was surprised that you hadn't seen that band.
Yeah, Slipknot was definitely, and I recall this very vividly. You telling me I needed to go see Slipknot, and not only did I need to see Slipknot, I needed to see Slipknot from the pit, and that I was to dress appropriately.
Like comfortable shoes.
Yeah, because shit was about to get wild.
Yeah,
and Slipknot was wild.
Yes. And then the more recent one, of course, we'll bring up Gwar again. But that was probably the best show you've ever seen.
You are a Gwar stan, first of all. I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah.
But you told me that I needed to go and see Gwar. If I was going to be a concert guy and I had a love for music the way I said I did, that I owed it to myself to go and see Gwar.
Yes.
And the one thing that hit me most, Daniel, have you ever seen Gwar?
Live, no, but I'd like to.
They still tour.
I think we know the next time that the three of us are most definitely going to have to be in a room together. Have you ever, Daniel, been to a concert where there were two requirements? One was make sure your phone and the things you care about are in a Ziploc bag. And two, don't wear anything that you care about. And the other one was bring a change of clothes.
Yes, absolutely. Lollapalooza 95. I did not come prepared.
No, he says to me, make sure you bring a change of clothes. And I'm thinking to myself, am I going to shit myself at this Gwar show?
That's how good it's going to be?
Like,
a proper pit, you may either shit yourself or actually eat shit.
Yeah.
It's possible.
I've lost my shorts in a
There's
pit.
not clean air in a rockin' mosh pit.
No.
That's just grinding you down for 3 hours.
Going off on a tangent, did you see the girl overseas that said she got herpes on her forehead from a concert?
No.
Did you see the girl that got pelted by something Axl Rose threw? Was it the mic?
Possibly.
Which was a tradition, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I could have sworn I read an article where at every GNR show, at the end of the show, Axl takes the mic and he throws it into the crowd, and people love it. Yeah. And this was a tradition, and it was very rock and roll, and it was great until somebody claimed to get hurt because she got a bloody nose because Axl's mic hit her And then she made a whole big stink about it, got the news media involved, and then Axel had to put out a statement saying that he's no longer going to be throwing his mic out at the end of each show.
If it was a hockey puck, they would have just given her a signed stick.
It is an honor
Yeah.
to be hit in the face with Axl Rose's mic. An honor,
I would say so.
no matter what the injuries may be.
I mean, and at the end of the day, what you need to get is a signed Axl Rose mic.
My
then.
God.
Yeah, really.
That's that's hilarious.
And her injury was like, dude, it was like a bloody nose
Yeah.
at best, right?
She wanted some rhinoplasty and
We're living in a soft era, man.
it's true. You can't rush the stage at a rage show without getting tackled. Soft.
I think that guy would have had better luck just
do you want some
walking
snacks?
down to the floor.
Yeah, sure. By the way, since we were talking about Wu-Tang earlier,
Oh, yeah.
I just want to bring it back to Wu-Tang, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm glad you guys were at the Hexo show.
Yeah, so I
That was one of my top 5 shows.
wild.
wow.
It was just it was amazing end to end.
I want to hear the other 4. I was gonna say how many shows by the end of this that we were in at together and not knowing it. So there's number 1.
Well, and Rolling Loud.
Rolling Loud. Ryan.
Oh,
didn't
Ryan
go-
wasn't there.
No, I was though.
Anyway, so I wanted to give you a gift
Okay.
because we're talking
Nice.
about Wu-Tang. So we got 2 old school Raekwon concert flyers.
Oh, that's
shit.
wild.
Here's one for you, Brian.
Ryan, thank you, man.
Ryan.
Ryan, I call him Ryan, the concert guy.
Brian. It's all good.
Chef, the chef. So I've actually met Raekwon. I assume
That's
you have
wild.
as well.
Yeah.
Nice guy. Super nice guy.
Back then,
Not so much. Nicer now.
I'm sure he's nicer now. So, so I found some extras,
Dude,
extra flyers
very
that I
cool.
had. And this is a really legendary flyer because A, it's die cut, A, it's Wu-Tang, or B, it's Wu-Tang,
Brass Monk's on there.
C,
Is that the
Brass Monk
reverb?
is on it, D, Reverb,
Yeah.
rest in peace, Reverb. And I thought you guys would enjoy it.
Thank you so much, man. That's awesome.
That is the type of stuff that me and Ryan live for. You know,
Yeah.
you know how we tend to try to find our way to find things that mean a little more. I just got my sister Tragically Hip poster from the last shows at ACC, which I took my sister to, and upon going and looking in my trinkets and doodads of concert stuff, I found that I had stolen off of the wall the disclaimer from the ACC that normally would read like, no cameras, no flash photography, you'll be thrown out of the ACC,
Yeah.
yada, yada, yada.
Were you the guy who'd send me all the set lists?
Yeah.
That's you. That was cool. So you just go up to the sound man and just say like, give me the set list, or
A magician never reveals their tricks.
yeah, because you sent me the
Then
Wu-Tang Nas set
everyone.
list, I think,
I sent you the Rage
And I-
Against the
and I
Machine one
posted it.
too.
and the Rage one.
And somewhere in my trinkets, I had what I thought to be the last Elton John concert in Toronto set list as well. It's one of those things like ending up at the Stanley Cup in Game 5.
Yeah,
If you're in the right place with the right people, and you're
right
in a
things
nice,
happen.
the right things happen. And I've been fortunate that way.
So a funny story about that Raekwon show is, and I was there, I was backstage, because at the time I was working for a company called REMG.
I am familiar.
Shout out Jeff and Jonathan Ramos. And so I was basically like doing some production work and promoting, flyering, and et cetera for a few years. Kind of bankrolled my university tuition.
Fair
And I
enough.
remember at that Raekwon show, this is probably almost 1 a.m, and we're backstage in the green room with Raekwon. He hasn't performed yet. People started filing in at 9. Okay, now it's almost 1, and Raekwon's in the green room, and he's got his standard rider. He's got his alcohol. He's got his like party sandwiches, veggie platter, deli platter, etc.
Margarita pizzas.
He's chilling. He's taking his sweet time. And there was a TV backstage. And on TV at that moment was A&E biography on John Gotti. And Raekwon was just sitting there just watching the entire episode.
He wasn't going on stage. He's like,
He was
"I got shit to do."
enthralled by this A&E biography of John Gotti. And I just remember my buddy Jeff just pleading with Raekwon, Mr. Raekwon, please, can you go on stage? The
crowd's
crowd's
waiting.
getting rowdy.
Yeah.
It's almost 1 a.m. Tickets were like $30 or whatever.
Yeah.
And the crowd was getting rowdy. People, Raekwon, and people were just like starting to boo and stuff. And Raekwon is unmoved.
Doesn't give a shit.
He's watching A&E biography on John Gotti,
Better things to do.
and he will go on stage when he feels like it.
Yeah. Yeah. That you also have to, from a fan's perspective, in that era of Toronto hip hop shows.
That was par for the course.
Also par for the course was wait until 12:45, 1 o'clock, and then say something stupid like, oh, sorry, Cameron couldn't get over the border.
That was bad. Yes.
There was an era of Toronto
and
hip hop where
especially when you wouldn't get refunds either.
there was a solid decade or more
Of shadiness.
of like really wondering. And like I remember there was a game tour booked once, and like knowing that there was a very good chance. So what you're getting into are creamsicle Dunkaroos. Childhood favorite, but limited edition.
Vanilla
Vanilla cookie,
and orange.
orange cream.
This is rare.
This is very, very rare snacks. I'm pretty sure Ryan has experienced these already. I don't eat the snacks.
The orange cream ones.
What do you mean you don't eat snacks? You don't get high on your own supply?
10 crack commandments. Yeah, we have some rules on this podcast. Last weekend's rule was if you're smuggling drugs, don't tell anybody that you're with about it.
This tastes like a creamsicle.
This
Yes.
one is
Remember creamsicles?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was my favorite food as a kid.
So this is the guest review. We have Daniel from the Flyer Vault. He's trying a very rare Dunkaroo, not the regular Dunkaroos that everybody else has. The Orange Creamsicle limited edition, only sold in one format. And he's going to give you an unbiased snack review. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you're familiar with the original
A
Dunkaroos.
nice creamy aftertaste.
The original Dunkaroos. This is a childhood thing for you, like most
No,
people.
this one, I'm grading this
I
one
know, but
right
I'm
now.
just saying, the original one, you are familiar with it.
Yes.
It's nostalgic for you. Okay.
I also remember there was a year when my mom used to buy the Cheese Whiz with the sticks
Oh, yeah.
or the crackers.
Oh, yeah. I still do
Aren't
that.
there different versions of that?
That's
now?
why 88 was such a great year. Because that was the one year when I had those in my lunchbox. And then it went back to like shitty granola bars after.
The fruit roll-ups.
I think it's
that
because
aren't
they
real.
were on sale or something that year, and I ended up
Got a
getting
lot
those.
of them.
She stocked up. And on sale in 88 was like 75 cents a pack. Now it's like $5 or $6 for one thing. So the Dunkaroos Orange Creamsicle, we're pairing that with a Old Toronto Lake House Long Slice Brewery.
Yeah.
That's what you're pairing. It's like wine.
So this is a series of collectible cans.
Oh, nice.
Metropolitan Pilsner features a scene from the everyday life of Torontonian and Southern Ontarians past. The beer inside is a light tasting and crisp with a soft bready palate and subtle notes of straw.
Okay, now I
Right
need
on.
an equal description of the Orange Creamsicle Dunkaroos.
Got to be quick.
Yeah, it's the aftertaste lingers. That's for sure. I appreciate a tasty, lingering aftertaste.
Through the
That
beverage.
orange sherbet is still permeating the whole situation here. So I'd give it a good 7.5 out of 10.
7.5 out of 10.
It's not a bad score.
Okay, Ryan, since you're sitting in the guest spot of the world famous Mike Rita, who can be found at Rita Human on Instagram, he's
Yep.
busy right now in California filming and being a superstar. What would you like to try? Would you like to try the Kit Kat drumstick or the Milky Way cookie dough?
The Kit Kat drumstick. Kit Kat chunky, I guess.
Okay,
drumstick.
so Ryan is going for something that is actually available in Canada.
Nice.
We're going to hit you with the rare
More
Milky Way-
treats.
Of course. You see, you're not smoking, so you can eat this.
What? There's a cookie dough Milky Way?
This is why they call me the Snackman.
I've never seen this ever. I've
Something
had a
new.
few
It's on the
Milky
site.
Ways in my day, but I've never
Yeah.
seen a Cookie dough Milky Way.
So there you go. Get into that. Let the people know.
I like how they say artificial flavor, as if we were to assume it was natural flavor.
Right. They have cookies in
Oh,
there.
thanks for the reminder. Artificial flavor.
In Canada, it would probably be in like super big writing or something ridiculous. But American candy, it hits a little different.
Yeah, dope. Thanks. I'm going to get into this.
Yeah. Ryan's got the, now, you've watched the review of my son with this, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so.
That was a good review, and I think I agree with Carter. I don't exactly remember his score, but he said it's better than a regular Kit Kat Chunky. That's true. I'd give it an 8.
I believe my son
good.
said something like, it's somewhere between a 7 and a 9.
Oh, that's right.
And we landed on 8. So I feel like Carter will feel good that you gave it a score of that. Daniel's getting into the cookie dough Milky Way. That one is available on the website now. Newly released in America. America.
Mm-hmm.
That's some nougat goodness. Sweet nougat.
I hope you weren't on a diet and came on this podcast.
That's really good.
It's quite good.
So we've talked about your first show. Tell me, and I asked this question to Hunter because he's a music guy as well. And Ryan, you can chime in on this after Daniel does as well, because I haven't asked you this question. Pardon me. The concert regret. The one show you could have went to, you had the opportunity to go to, and you passed, or it just didn't happen, or the circumstances. Is there someone you regret not seeing?
Well, it's a good question, but I would say, I don't know if you'd call this a concert per se, but one of my biggest regrets was not going to the government closing.
Was it Dead Mouse?
With Dead Mouse.
Okay.
I had spent years at government. I knew the whole crew there. I did a lot of work there. I had a lot of friends in that place. I don't know what it was. Maybe I was tired. Some stupid excuse. Or it was cold or some stupid bullshit. And I was invited. Mm-hmm. It would have been fucking VIP. It would have been like all the fixins. Come to Gov and let's have a proper night and send this place off the way it was meant to. And stupid me just didn't show up. I was literally invited, and it's just dumb because again I saw so many amazing shows there. I spent so much of my time working there, like behind the scenes and stuff. Right. And when I was asked to like come celebrate the end of this like institution, which was the government, I passed for some dumb reason.
Shit.
So that's a big regret. More, it's just what can you do?
Something that, and I was going with, and true to who you are with the venue nostalgians, I was going with an artist, and you pulled out a venue.
Yeah, because it meant, like, I should have been there. Yeah. It like, there was a bond, there was an emotional connection, and I don't know if it was a bad week or a bad day, or maybe work was tough that day. I don't know. There's all sorts of dumb excuses, but I always felt bad about not being there, especially when all my friends were there. And
was that something that was announced, or sorry, the artist, was that announced before the show? Was that something that deterred you? Did you not like Dead Mouse?
No, actually, I like Dead Mouse.
Oh, okay.
His early shit's really good, actually.
Who was Dead Mouse at that point? Because I know Dead Mouse is a world famous DJ, but that was some years ago. Was he huge at that point, or was he still on the come up?
No, this was like he was top 5, like on all the DJ lists.
Because
like
I know he's local, right?
Yeah,
I know he's local, so I wasn't sure.
Dead Mouse is local. Technically, he is. Well, he's from what? Was he from Niagara Falls or something?
I mean, I say anybody that's
Not
within
sure
a few hours of like from Ontario, like in the music industry, you could be from Hamilton. I consider you a local.
But like we established earlier, Foo Fighters are local.
That's right.
yeah, because of Pat Smear. Ryan, do you have any concert regrets? What shows that you?
I've been thinking of them, but I don't really have any. The only one that comes to mind is one that I couldn't work because I got vertigo, and it was AC/DC, and it was up in, I think, Niagara Falls or something. I forget where it was, to be honest, but it was a Live Nation thing, and I just couldn't work it because I got vertigo. That's the only one I can think of off the bat.
So I've previously talked about. Do you want that to go? Take it to go. I've previously talked about my regret in not seeing Prince when he did the secret shows in Toronto that he announced. I had a chance to go.
At Massey Hall.
I thought it was at the Sony Center for some reason.
No.
That wasn't a secret show.
Well, there was one that he announced like just before he died, right? He did like a Toronto one and then like an Atlanta one.
I do
or
remember
something.
one at Massey.
Maybe it was Massey Hall. I thought it was the Sony Center though. Someone will chime in. Wait, this is the guy that should chime in. But he did the show where he announced it was a weekday. He announced it in the morning. There was a buzz.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the
That
tickets
was
went on
Massey
sale.
Hall.
And I got offered a ticket in like the 4th row, but it was a single ticket only. And I had rationalized that Prince wouldn't play guitar. He was doing more of an intimate like piano thing, and that I'd much rather see Prince when he played guitar, and I didn't really want to go by myself, and I didn't go and see Prince. And
You played yourself.
I fucking and the other one, to your point about kind of just not being in the mood, I was out in Vancouver a few years ago, and I went to a cannabis event, and I could have the name wrong. I want to say it was called the Harvest Cup, and I got guest list backstage to go and see an up-and-coming guy playing. I want to say it was Fortune Sound Club, and it was Travis Scott.
Oh.
And the time change fucked me, and I fell asleep. And I missed going to see Travis Scott. Shout out Benny, a friend of mine who I believe had something to do with that show. But it was like, seeing Travis Scott in a spot where, a smaller venue on the come up,
Yeah.
backstage probably would have had a chance to at least say, hey, what's up?
Yeah. I actually remember a few weeks ago I posted a video of Travis at Hoxton.
Yep.
Like 2012, 2013, something
Might have
like
been
that.
It might have been that. It might have been.
Well before his songs with Drake and Astroworld and all that crazy stuff.
It was that tour.
And the place was rocking, man.
Insane.
Rocking.
Have you seen Travis Scott?
No. Or I probably worked a show, but I haven't.
Probably not. Maybe at an OVO fest, and I don't even remember, but
So I've seen Travis Scott now twice. I saw him both times at Scotiabank, ACC, whatever it was. But the last time I saw him was just before the tragedy that happened at Astroworld.
right.
It was the Astroworld tour.
that was crazy.
And again, back to the fact that, we were in the Rage Against the Machine pit. This fool took me in the Slipknot pit. I've been to punk shows my entire life. AFI and NoFX and Propagandhi and I know what a rough show is, and the pit at that Travis Scott show for a rap show, the people were going
Just
like
waving.
this.
Like one organism.
Dude, I remember saying
It's cool when you see shit like that.
You just got to make sure, though, you're with the wave, because if you go opposite direction, you could get, like,
You just fall over.
stamped out,
In
choked out.
in that moment, I said, wow, like, this is the craziest shit I've ever seen. And I've been to a ton of shows by this time.
Yeah, I've been in that situation before. You got to make sure you're moving in the right direction, or your body will get contorted into ways you didn't even think possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when, everything went down, and it's not a Rammstein show or, like something that you would be like, oh, okay, then there was a crazy ass pit and some people got fucked up like it was a rap show.
Yeah.
When that happened, I wasn't actually all that surprised because of how fucking crazy that show was at Air Canada Centre and how the crowd, it was like a wave of people.
Yeah.
When he told them to mosh or whatever he said, lighter.
They did.
You can use the Snackman lighter.
I haven't done this in a while.
Well, there you go.
Hopefully
is
it
what it's
doesn't
about.
spray too hard.
Shake it up a little, and you can pretend like you're an F1 driver.
Okay, I'm going to go off camera and try to get this open.
Oh, really? You're not gonna let the
I'll
people
try.
watch you struggle?
I don't want to spray your equipment if things go haywire.
Okay.
Good
So
call.
I'll ask a question, Ryan.
Yeah.
What are some shows that you have to see you haven't seen?
That's also really tough. I really worked a lot of shows that I wanted to see. The shows I still have to see are bands I've already seen.
Okay.
Like NoFX is touring their final.
Definitely
tour.
have to go and see NoFX final tour.
Yeah.
Definitely have to go and see NoFX final tour.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Rush
To Rush.
Yeah,
you're
you
drinking
brought that
and
Rush
their
beers.
fine lager here. Is it a lager?
Says,
Okay, there's moving pictures, Henderson and Rush. It looks like a lager. Oh, it's an ale. Belgian style extra strong pale ale with Pinot Noir must.
right on.
Cheers.
Wow.
That's a rare beer.
That sounds like it comes from a
Ryan, crack it open.
it sounds like a certain
Crack it open.
region in France that it comes from.
Wow, this is very good. Wow.
Nice.
I think we
Mine
should just
didn't
take a
explode.
moment and really appreciate what we're drinking here.
I think what you need to do is do a beer review. Jimmy's not here. He normally does them on the channel. So we have a new segment here. It's called Beer Reviews with Daniel.
Wow, it's a little bit sweet.
It's very sweet.
You can definitely taste the grape infusion. And I love the artwork too, because we have the Rush, the 2112 Pentagon. We got a skateboard, and of course a baseball and a baseball pitcher, because we all know Geddy Lee is a baseball fanatic.
Yes.
Shout out Geddy Lee, and this is a delicious beer. So shout out Rush and Henderson Brewing.
And notice the spelling of pitchers is actually
Yeah.
not the same as the tour/album.
Yep.
It's
Exactly.
beer pitchers.
Yeah.
Clever.
Pictures
Clever
of,
pun.
Pictures of ale.
And this is also a limited series release, one of 1,600 cases.
When
Right
did
on.
this beer come out?
Oh, yeah. It says it right on the back.
If you grab a glass, we can.
I
Hit you up with some.
actually can't. I can't drink beer.
No? Okay.
No, there's something weird, and I get this a lot. Ryan knows this. If I drank like a couple sips of that beer, there's something it does to my stomach that just.
Yeah.
I can drink whiskey though,
Throws you off.
and I can smoke weed. I can definitely do those two things.
That's a flavor.
Yeah,
is
it's
this
really
is this
sweet.
commercially available now in the LCBO or the beer store, or is this?
So this one, I'm not sure, because this was hard to get, this moving pictures line. The other one, the gold can, I think is available at the LCBO.
It's interesting to see celebrities and their liquor. Like I know Sammy Hagar has Cabo Wabo, and it seems like very profitable in a time of music when the only profitability right now seems to be in touring. They've moved over to selling booze to people.
And every time I go to my uncle's house, he always has Wayne Gretzky wine ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
He almost has it by the tap. For some reason, only the Wayne Gretzky. When he's like, "Oh, you want some red? You want some white?" Sure, it's a Wayne
Number
Gretzky
99.
label.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right on.
That's hilarious.
I will drink and buy anything that Wayne Gretzky has endorsed. No questions asked.
So you bet MGM then?
Sure, I'm in. Done.
Yeah.
How do you feel about
If
how
the
do you-
great one's involved, I'm in.
How do you feel about? We talked about it last week on the pod. How do you feel about Major League Sporting associations having official betting companies, and Pete Rose not being in the Hall of Fame?
Pete Rose is an absolute travesty that Pete Rose, the greatest hitter of all time, is not in Cooperstown. It's an absolute travesty, and Cooperstown is a joke now, or at least the Hall of Fame is a joke. Everyone knows it is. They have these like B-level players who haven't even hit 400 home runs being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Meanwhile, guys like Pete Rose, guys like Roger Clemens
Yeah.
have not been inducted. It's a farce.
It's so weird to me to see them promote betting on their league and still not induct him. And I might
Pure hypocrisy.
I might ask every guest on this podcast going forward why Pete Rose isn't in the Hall of Fame.
Pete Rose deserves to be inducted. Like he's getting up there now in age, right? Like I don't know, maybe he's almost 80 or in and around there.
Yeah.
Get the guy in the hall already.
Yeah.
Like
I met him in Vegas.
He's paid. Like, think about it. Like, murderers often walk free after serving like 15 to 20 years. And all he
100%.
did was bet on a few baseball games that he's apologized like 35 times for. And he's gotten over 4,000 hits, and he still hasn't been inducted. It's like humans, if you've paid your dues and you've repented, you get forgiveness.
That's how it works. It's
So
supposed
why
to.
is Major League Baseball not forgiving Pete Rose after what, like 35 years, even more? It really upsets me, and I really do hope that cooler heads prevail and he eventually gets inducted before he passes away.
It's crazy. My grandfather, rest in peace, it was the era of baseball and sports in general where steroids was a real deal thing. And you mentioned Roger Clemens, and his philosophy was very odd, because my grandfather came from an era where drugs were like kind of not a thing. Elderly people, even smoking weed is like, it was very frowned upon. And my grandfather was a very, very big sports fan. And at one point he said to me, he's like, they're never going to always catch these guys. There's always going to be cheaters. And maybe we should just let them do whatever they can do. Let it all out. Yeah. And then we'll see who the best is. Because if the average guy who is nice enough to not take performance-enhancing drugs, and then there's somebody that is, we're not going to catch all of them. But if we just allow it, that average guy, he's going to be, you know what I mean? Like, he's going to end up having that same opportunity.
The big argument for allowing these guys into the Hall of Fame was that essentially it was still an even playing field in the late 80s and into the 90s and early 2000s.
They were all juiced
because
up.
they were all juicing.
Right.
So it was an even playing field. Pitchers, catchers, doesn't matter. Everybody was doing some sort of performance enhancement substance.
Right.
Yep.
And so, whether you like it or not, if you still have relatively an even playing field, then what's the problem?
Yeah. And
I'm not advocating steroids, but I'm saying it's not like, these guys were killing everybody else on other teams because all the other teams were doing the same shit.
And at the end of the day, it still takes an incredible amount of talent,
Of course,
to hit Barry Bonds numbers or, A-Rod numbers or any of these guys, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, all these guys that were slugging balls. You can give me every known performance-enhancing drug known to man all at the same time in a cocktail, and I'm probably not going to hit one fucking home run.
Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't look like that because he did steroids. Arnold Schwarzenegger looked like that because he was in the gym for 3 hours every single day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is something to be said about that. And at the end of the day, it's like anything in society. They'll probably start to be a little bit more laxed on that generation for those reasons. But again, people are cheating right now. I'm confident that there are people cheating in sports right now, and we'll find out about it in a decade when they figure out the new thing that they're cheating on. It's not really like...
And I guess they were okay with the steroid use, but they're not okay with the betting.
What? They're taking money from the betting companies now. Like, Connor McDavid and Wayne Gretzky are in a commercial for a betting company promoting betting on NHL, and it's sponsored by the fucking league. Now, I don't wear a tinfoil hat,
Anymore.
but you're really fueling the fire of people. The UFC recently was pulled from Ontario betting. I don't know if you guys were aware of that.
Was it?
Yeah, the betting in Ontario, after there was some controversies over a few fights, they pulled betting on Ontario on UFC. Now, I believe it's been reinstated.
What about slap fighting? Can we bet on slap fighting?
Well, we talked about that last week, too. I'm thinking that there's an opening to open a league now that Dana White got caught smashing his wife.
Ontario
like that.
Slap Fighting League?
That's right.
OSL?
But the problem with slap fight is that you can't tell anybody about slap fight, right?
No, you know what no. You know what the problem with slap fight is? CTE. That's the problem with slap fight.
Yeah. You don't realize the effects till 15 years later. That's hilarious. Everybody's walking around like they're in a daze. I've had a few concussions, and I said it was one of the cheapest drugs I ever did.
It's literally the sport of getting your clock cleaned.
Pretty much. Yeah, you got to hit them right on the chin in the perfect spot until you get KO'd. That's hilarious.
Open hand slap.
So we're here. This is Snacks of Life podcast. We're here with Daniel from the Flyer Vault solely because I fucking love his page. He posts the most incredible content about Toronto concerts, Toronto history. We were talking earlier about Honest Eds. If there's something that's going to pull at your heartstrings as a music fan in the city of Toronto, if you follow him for more than a week and he doesn't do it, something's wrong. And it's because it's stuff from the 50s all the way to stuff from now. It's rock, it's hip hop, it's Moby.
Yeah, I did a Moby post today.
It's Moby.
Yep. I've been because I had no idea, but Moby has put out 2 autobiographies. Each is an 11-hour audiobook. So for the last 3 weeks or so, I'd go to the gym and I would just like work out while I'm listening to Moby's 22 hours of This Is My Life story. And there's crazy stories in there, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And but when I'm listening to these music audiobooks, I'm always looking for the concert angle or a Canada angle.
Right.
And so there was one where he was shit talking Aphex Twin on this like 93 tour and how he was dissing him because Moby apparently got like he got motion sickness like on the tour bus.
Right.
He couldn't like sleep and it was like fucking him up. So he decided to just like charter a plane and just fly to all the tour stops.
Right.
And the AFX team was like, "Yeah, you fucking elitist.
Yeah,
piece
you're the
of shit,
headliner, you motherfucker.
Yeah, who do you think you are?" And then
Yeah.
apparently he was like dissing him for like playing a guitar. And like if you're an electronic producer, DJ, you shouldn't be playing no guitar. So he was like, and I thought that was a pretty funny story because that tour came into the Opera House in '93. During like the early days of Toronto's rave scene, and so I wanted to post that, and I thought that was fun. I tagged Moby, but he hasn't responded.
That tag that you throw out though, like the Champagne Poppy, Drake's $500 Ice Cube performance,
100.
100. I thought it was 500. $100.
Think about it. Drake's first concert, he was paid 1,000 pennies.
There was pennies at that time too.
I mean, if you extrapolate the math,
Yeah.
Could you
Right?
imagine handing Drake 1,000 pennies at any point in time, ever? Like just being like, "Here you go." Like the guy has more money than than like he knows what to do.
yeah,
with it.
it tripped him out too, man. When he saw that, I mean,
He
it tripped us
probably
all
forgot.
out. When I first saw that document, I was like, "Whoa."
How did you find that document?
Yeah, so this is also a funny story. So my good friend Jeff Bramman, shout out Jeff, who worked with John Ramos at REMG doing the hip hop concerts for many years.
Right.
So he had saved all the old show files from all the concerts they had done over the years. So just everything, contracts, faxes, riders, just anything pertaining to the show.
Dope.
And so I went up to his office one day, and he just kind of let me into like this warehouse where there's all these boxes, and you have to go up this little ladder to grab a box, and you just go through all the different files. So I'm rummaging through the files, and I land on the Ice Cube 2006 file. I was like, okay, I'll check this out, see what was going on here, and I'm looking through it. Ice Cube's like hotel itinerary and
Right.
his passport. It's just like a lot of information.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
O'Shea Jackson. Yeah, that's his name. Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm going through this file, and I see the show advance. Basically, what a show advance is sort of like when you're buying a show or you put in an offer to an agent to like buy a show, whether it's part of a tour or a one-off, you have to also send a proposed budget.
Right.
Right, because they want to know exactly how much this show is going to net profit.
So they can get their cut.
Right, so they can get their cut because the
Yep.
artist is getting a guarantee, which is a fixed rate, but
Yep.
they're also going to usually get probably 80% of the door sales.
Oh,
Right?
really?
Yeah,
That much for an
Oh,
artist?
yeah. It's an artist's game when it comes to concert income, right?
That's
the
why
promoter
there's-
just gets a pittance, really. So you have to present a proposed plan or budget on what you expect the show to make upon either a sellout or maybe upon 80% ticket sales.
Yep.
And so I was looking at this document, this one-page document that was being sent to, it was probably William Morris Agency or
Yep.
one of Ice Cube's agents.
Yep.
And lo and behold, it was like like supporting talent, Drake, $100. And I was like, wow, that's notable.
Yeah, right.
Very notable.
That's notable. And so I immediately, kind of took that document out of the folder. I ran home. I scanned it, high quality scanning. And the funny thing is, I initially posted it with like all the dollar figures. So so like Ice Cube's guarantee was in there, like how much he was gonna make. And then a couple people were like, yeah, you might want to like repost that redacted.
Yeah.
So then I was like, yeah, you're right. So I pulled it, redacted, kept the Drake part, $100,
Yeah.
reposted, and then that post went to the moon.
It was like the Daily Mail in the UK and like
Rolling Stone, man. The shit even went to the craziest thing was there was a news site in Luxembourg that picked it up.
That's like the Vatican or something, isn't it? Is that like
Luxembourg? I'm like, what? And so that tripped me out. India picked it up. Obviously, like all the big outlets in North America, Rolling Stone, Today Show, you name it. It was pretty crazy, man.
What was the guarantee for Ice Cube?
I'm gonna keep that redacted. I don't want to get in trouble.
So when
it was a few zeros. Let's put it that way.
Nice.
When all of these places are, and I have the smallest sliver of experience with this, when all these places are using your Instagram post, you don't get anything from that. They basically just tag you as the Flyer Vault and use it on television and go for it because you've put it in the public domain, right?
Yeah. Once you post anything, it's out in the ether.
Did you do any interviews or anything from that post?
No.
No one reached out.
It was
That's surprising.
I mean, I had some people no like big massive news organizations reached out. No.
So,
but they covered it. They posted on it. There was some again. They talked about it on the Today Show, which is pretty.
That's crazy.
Pretty
dude.
big.
The Today Show's huge. No, pretty big,
so
dude. That's huge. Like how many million people watch the Today Show
I didn't
every
realize it would blow up that much, but it just goes to show that people really do appreciate that like humble come up story, and that like no matter how big the star is, at some point in their life,
they were doing $100 shows.
They started from the bottom.
The Drake thing that started from the bottom.
Yeah, so that post actually kind of like lent credibility to that whole started from the bottom like narrative.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly.
He, if I'm not mistaken, you also posted the first, because he wasn't on that Ice Cube flyer.
No, he wasn't on the flyer.
No, he wasn't on the flyer. He was just like Jimmy, just going to show up.
Yeah.
Isn't that what his name was on Degrassi?
Jimmy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first one he was on the flyer was a Common show? Or something? He opened for Common?
No. The first flyer that I saw Drake on opening as an opening act was the Clips.
The Clips.
At Tonic nightclub.
Tonic nightclub.
By the way, shout out your Pusha T-shirt. I like it.
We're going to talk about that in just one
we'll
second.
get there. So, but that show didn't actually happen.
Right.
Because I don't know,
Clips probably couldn't get over the border.
Some static happened, and apparently Drake was not allowed to perform that night. And if you want the real story, you can interview my buddy Neil Forrester, who can give you the whole lowdown.
I actually know Neil.
Okay, shout out Neil.
Shout out Neil. I have some experience with Neil.
Yeah,
Neil's a great guy.
That was his show. He did a clip show. He hired Drake to be the opening act. And again, I don't know what the backstory was, but there was some static, and basically club management was like, this guy can't perform. And so that was the first like flyer that I ever came across that said like Drake opening in like tiny font.
Right.
And then the next one I saw where he actually did perform was for Mos Def at the Phoenix. That was also an REMG show.
Right.
And that was cool because he also, so last summer there was the Northern Touch All-Stars OVO show at History where he brought out like all the old school rappers.
Maestro.
Choclair and everybody. And it was cool because like before that show started, Drake got on stage and kind of like told the crowd how he came to this point and how these people that we were going to see perform this evening like impacted him as an artist and influenced him. And he brought up in his little speech that he's like, oh yeah, and you know the first time I ever got on stage and rocked a mic was at this Mos Def concert. But the funny thing is, it actually wasn't. It was at Ice Cube show, which I found a few months afterwards.
Right.
So in many ways, I feel like I'm like the Drake official biographer.
Well,
it's like this is your life.
If you weren't before, you are
You
now.
fact checked his story. Or
So
like,
so yeah.
actually,
So it's
no.
basically it's the Ice. His first show for $100 was the Ice Cube show, but then and that was summer 06, and then like early 07 he opened up for Mos Def at the Phoenix.
That was the show. I had Mos Def and Common mixed up because I didn't keep a lot of my stubs. I tried my best, but I'm pretty sure I was at that concert because in that era,
Mos Def in Common?
no, Mos Def at the Phoenix, and
Yeah.
I've tried to go back and like try to figure out if I was there because at the time I wouldn't have cared anything about Drake being on stage.
Well,
I might not have even shown up to like
Probably nobody would have, because
Yeah.
like you would have to been really plugged in
to Degrassi.
to, well, not even to Degrassi, to like MySpace, to know that he put out this, whatever it was called, Room for Improvement mixtape.
Right.
That at that point it was like sort of a cult following, right? Like to be plugged in and know this guy put out this mixtape, and then, but nobody really knew about him. Probably
Right.
I would say probably the first like Toronto personality or like rapper to like know about Drake and like talk about him was probably Cardinal.
Right.
Right, because I
Cardi.
think they even like did like a remix, or they did some kind of track way
Shout-
back in the
shout
day.
out Cardi.
Shout
That's
out
another
Cardi.
legend.
So, yeah, man, it's interesting
It-
history.
it's interesting to go from $100 shows to be able to basically shut down the city for your concert.
Yeah,
every
so
year.
from $100 shows to okay, let's say like you cold called like OVO headquarters, and you're like, hey, I want to book Drake for my kid's bar mitzvah or something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, I wonder what the rate is right now.
There isn't one.
Okay, but let's assume he would do it, but there's a rate. What do you think the rate would be?
I think that he's smart enough where they would gauge that on what it was and who it was, but it's definitely guaranteed over $10 million.
Didn't Beyonce play like Qatar or something recently for like one of the princes for like 10, what was it, like 20 mil or something, 30 mil?
It's got to be in that
I'm not
era,
sure.
and that happens more often than we know about. There's been a lot of celebrities that have been caught with people
Their
with
hands in the cookie jar, the bloody cookie jar.
showing up at the wedding of a Russian oligarch or something. You know what I mean? And just like cashing
Why
a
was
check.
Rihanna performing at like a Chechen royal wedding?
Literally.
Why is Rihanna in Chechnya?
It-
This
it's-
is weird.
it's been known to happen. I don't think that he does that stuff. Like he's at the point now where he shows up where he wants to show up, and they just open the door and they're like, "Hey man, fuck it,
I miss bar mitzvah Drake,
yeah."
where you could, you know,
You could get him for
if you were a
for
trust
$100.
fund kid,
Yeah.
if you're a trust fund kid, you could tell Dad, I want to book Drake for my bar mitzvah, and a few, one check, he'd be there.
There was an era.
But maybe now it's probably not likely to happen.
There was probably an era. There's probably some kids that watch this, or some kids in Toronto that can lay that claim. I'm gonna say for sure. To the point about the Pusha T-shirt, looping back to the whole getting posts on the internet. Were you at the Pusha T infrared,
At Danforth Music Hall,
the infamous Pusha T show
where you got punked off?
where they rushed the stage?
Yeah, I remember that. I wasn't there, but I remember that.
So this
Pusha
T-shirt,
T came to enemy territory, and he was not welcome here.
So
Shit.
I had tickets to that show, and Danforth is seats up top, floor down below. That's where this shirt's from, actually. It's from that show. And I got there with my floor seat, and I had heard rumblings in the city that something was up, that he wasn't welcome. I had credible information that shit was going down. And I didn't know what type of shit, but I had fairly credible information that some shit was going to happen. So I perched up top. Instead of going down on the floor, I sat in the middle at the top
The
of
balcony?
Danforth in the balcony. I picked out a decent enough seat and I sat up top, and I just was like, all right, this is the place I'll least likely get shot if something fucking like happens. And as
So
the-
basically, you were like in the peanut gallery. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know, I'm going to go to the war, but I'm going to get a nice seat away from the shrapnel.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm not missing this fucking show. but I'm also not going to be in the mix like I normally am.
Smart.
I'm going to sit at the back, but in my head I was like, I'm going to get a good angle on this motherfucker, right? So as the story goes, I don't know how much you know about that incident, and you can fill in blanks if I have them. But there was quite a few gentlemen that were right on the rail of that show.
Like side stage, like by the door.
And also right out front, standing on the rail with glasses of beer. And they were just sitting there. And when Pusha comes out, you can kind of, I don't know if there's video of the whole show, in this day and age, there may be. You can kind of tell that he doesn't seem all that comfortable. And there's a lot of mean mugging coming from the front of the stage. And I just am sitting there waiting, and like a concert junkie I am, I went online and I checked the set lists
beforehand
of the tour, because rappers,
everybody does that.
It's not that they're
Even
not
if I
the.
don't want to.
You know what? I love it when I go to the Grateful Dead shows and people pull up the set list, and I just laugh because it's not going to a Dead show where that there's zero chance you're going to see the second. It's pretty rigid, these hip hop shows, So I knew when Infrared was going to drop, and I took out my camera, and I have the balcony view of them throwing the beer at him to start with and rushing the stage, and the guy on the stage in the OVO tracksuit, and Pusha goes to the back and everything. And should credit to Pusha T, he finished the show after it all calmed down. There was no excessive violence. They just basically jumped up on the stage and kind of like gave him one of these and was like, this could have been what it could have been type of deal. Mm-hmm. And I immediately went to the internet with my video and posted it. This is pre-Snack Life.
I'm going to grab that clip and post it on the Flyer Vault.
Yeah, if you want, man. It's on the Toronto Concert Guy. So pre-Snack Life, I posted it to the internet, and immediately I called TMZ.
Did you?
Yes.
That's the move.
Yeah, you don't know this story?
No.
Okay, so immediately I called TMZ. They have like a hotline. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even remember what.
Continue the story. Nature's calling again. I'll be back.
Man,
Yeah, no worries.
go for it. So immediately I call TMZ, and I'm like, I have footage of them rushing Pusha T. It's Drake's people rushing Pusha T. Yeah. I have footage of it, and I did an interview with a guy on the phone from TMZ, and he just kind of kept on asking me, like, how do you know
that it was Drake's people?
That it was Drake's people? And I said, I don't, but look at the logos on his thing,
Yeah.
And he's like, how did you know this was going to happen? He just kept on asking me, like, where did you get this? And I didn't want to say, this is how I know what I know, but here's your video. Is it newsworthy or not? I think it is,
Yeah.
And they ended up rolling with a video after I had the interview with him. I still have his number in my phone. They ended up rolling with a video that somebody took that was like right on the rail, that was up close. Okay. But the UK Daily Mail and I think CTV, the USA Today, it went around the circles where like my video was picked up by a few different places.
Oh yeah.
And to the same thing that Daniel was talking about, basically they just send you a DM and are like, hey, cool story, can we steal it?
Oh yeah, that's all.
They just take your video and they're like, that was really cool that you did that. We're gonna post it on our website now. Have a great day. And you're like, could you please just make sure that you put the ad in there so I can get more than 700 followers? Like the Toronto Concert Guy, like people see all the concerts that I'm going to on the Snack page and stuff, and then I look back at the Toronto Concert Guy page and I'm like, wow, man, that should have been way more popular. There's way cooler shit on there. Some of the shit that we were doing.
Yeah, and I do remember he finished the show.
He came back and he finished the show.
You got to give him some credit for that. Like this was
props.
After the beef with Drake, he was like persona non grata in Toronto, and he books a tour, and he especially he's like, I'm gonna come to Toronto, and does a full show, a little bit of static, but no worries, and then he got his money and left. Like, you got to give Pusha respect for that.
The issue was, and I truly do believe this. The issue was, you're not gonna come into Toronto and do your diss song, because he was halfway through his show, maybe even more.
Wait, did he do the story of Adonis?
No, that's after. He did the Infrared.
That would have been crazy if he did that song.
I think that came out later in the beef, because, dude, this was actually mid-beef. I could have my facts wrong.
No.
People will fact check me.
The beef was in wait, actually, sorry, I'm thinking of the Meek Mill beef. The Meek Mill beef was 2015. Yeah, this beef was around 2018. You're right.
This beef was fresh, bro.
It was
popping when it happened, and the issue was, you're not going to come into my city and do your diss track. And he got, we can go back. You're the Flyer Vault. We could get the track listing. Shout out, what is it, Track Listing FM or something? I'm always be on
Setlist FM.
Setlist FM. Fucking yeah.
I would actually like to know if Pusha did Story of Adonis at that show, because that would be a very provocative.
I don't think that song existed.
You think?
Huh?
Yeah.
No.
So you're saying he was still in the beef? Because I recall it was summertime. It was a summertime beef. And I remember this because I have this weird memory where I first heard the Story of Adonis song while I was grocery shopping, and I remember I was wearing shorts and sandals. So I knew it was summer.
That's how you knew.
But didn't it come out?
You weren't looking up the weather with the set list.
So
like you
it was
usually do.
April 2nd, 2016.
That was the show?
I believe that's the show. Is that not the show? Maybe not. I'm trying to think.
April? Can you find the date of when the diss track came out? Because I remember Pusha T put out the album with the Whitney Houston deaths, like the bathroom scene with like the coke and all the crazy shit, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And on that track was on that album was the Infrared track that had the sneak diss on Drake.
Yep.
And then I forget the track that Drake put out to respond to that. And then after that, Pusha put out Story of Adonis, and then it was over.
So if I have my facts correct, that concert happened in the middle of that beef. Infrared was out, and I'm not sure if Drake had responded yet or not, but he wasn't welcome in Toronto. But I don't think that the baby, like the whole story was
like
out.
You have a kid, all that crazy shit.
Because that came out after, right?
Yeah.
That was like he did this. Pusha did the like poke with the infrared and then got his attention and then really right and
the crazy thing is how like Kanye was feeding Pusha all this like inside information.
I was just gonna say that in the inside the word on the street
that was
is
crazy,
that,
man.
And so then Drake had a few lines at Kanye, about rolling around, going around the corner, keep going, and there was a
in
few
his commune in Wyoming.
There was a few things, I guess, or that they're back together again.
So which battle did you enjoy more, the Drake Meek Mill or Drake Pusha?
Oof! I mean, those two records that Drake dropped at Meek Mill basically are that era's diss record. Like they're
defining records.
Hit 'em up. Like they're
that was like the Toronto hit 'em up, like our hit 'em up. You know what I mean?
I fucked your bitch.
That was our Bridges Over.
100%, dude. I think that not even just ours as Toronto people. I would say that's that
hip-hop.
era of hip hop. That's the disses. That's the beef that they'll talk about, like the ether.
Isn't that incredible? But isn't that incredible to think about that? Like a decade-defining battle song came from Toronto. It wasn't Nas Ether. It wasn't Cannabis Second Round Knockout. It wasn't KRS-One, Bridges Over, New York City. This was like a made in Toronto genre-defining diss. No Vaseline, Ice Cube, right? That might be the greatest. No Vaseline.
No Vaseline, bro.
That might have been the greatest.
That was
the hardest.
That was so raw. That was no sneak dissing.
That was the hardest shit ever. No Vaseline.
But holy fuck, really, on God. But the Drake thing is like the gas pedal. He went in the studio for war, and Meek was not prepared for war. Like, and
yeah, I remember he put out the first one, which was Charged Up, which was cool. It was a good song, but it didn't hit like that back to back joint.
Bro, do you remember
With
how
the Joe Carter?
Reference.
Remember the Joe Carter artwork?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The way that song
That
hit,
shit hit different, man.
bro. I would love to be a fly in the wall.
This is when Joey Bats was what we had. Joey Bats, we had Encarnacion. We had a good team.
Yeah, we went deep. I went to a bunch of those games.
Josh
too.
Donaldson.
Yeah.
Shout out Josh Donaldson.
We went to the what was it, the conference finals or something that year, the Western.
We beat the Rangers. That was the bat flip series.
I went to that.
And then I think after that we played the Royals, and then we lost to the Royals.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that
was 2015, man. That was a hot summer.
Then he comes back summer 16 tour with Future at the Air Canada Center.
I think I was at that. Oh no, was that the Jungle Tour or was that I should know this.
It kind of looked like a jungle theme. Yeah. Did you work that show?
Yeah, I did.
I was there.
Oh yeah, that was with Future.
Yeah,
I was at that
summer
one.
16.
Yep.
Bro.
Yep.
Hot again. He lit that shit
It
up.
was a good album with Future. He put out.
People talk, and I seen a post. I don't think it was yours. Somebody was talking on the internet recently about is it too early to consider Drake a GOAT of rap? You know, you talk about your Tupacs, your Biggies, your Jay-Z's, your Nas. I put the whole goddamn Wu-Tang Clan all together. They're fucking, the pioneers going back even farther. Rakim, Eric B., these kind of people, like people that had defining moments in hip hop. When we look back, people are trying to do it now, but the debate is now. In 20 years, he's got to get his flowers, right? Like,
I think he gets his flowers now.
You put.
Why do we have to wait 20 years?
You think he's GOAT status on right now?
He's up there.
And when he's not done,
he's up there. Unless he pulls a rabbit out of a hat, I think his best work is behind him.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. But even with that being said, he's definitely in the GOAT conversation. He's top, what do you want him to be? Top 5, top 10? He's up there.
So this
you can't deny it.
The question everybody always asks. So you have Drake in your top 5 rappers, dead or alive? As a person of a similar age as me, somebody.
No, he's not in my top 5.
Okay, fair enough. Neither is me. Not even close. Yours?
No.
Okay, fair enough. Who do you have? Do you want to drop that? Is that a question that you want to answer? That's a hard question for a lot of people. And if you want, I can break the ice because my greatest rapper of all time.
Died on March 9th?
No. My favorite rapper of all time, and I get heat from certain people, but when I say this to people, when I'm having a conversation with people that love hip hop, they respect it because it's not Biggie, it's not Tupac. I love Nas, man. I had the white Avrex leather jacket from Belly when I was a kid. I copped it year 2000. I love Nas. I still don't have Nas as my greatest rapper of all time. I have a really not obscure rapper. And when I answer this question, and I'm going to lead you to yours by breaking the ice here to give you some freedom, my favorite rapper of all time is Scarface.
Okay. Yeah, man. Scarface was dope.
And Scarface is still dope. And he's still alive. And he gives back to his community. I still remember the MTV Cribs where he had a beautiful house on the inside and on the outside. He's still in Houston. He's making change. He's running. He's a politician now, I think, and stuff like that. And his legacy was dope through so many years, but he always remained himself. You never really saw him take that next, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like his shit was always raw.
Yes.
And he kept it raw.
Very sincere, ghetto boy. That doesn't even include, he had his solo career was very good. Not even counting the Ghetto Boys catalog, which
100%.
was legendary. So There's many arguments to be made that Scarface is definitely up there in the GOAT conversation for sure.
I get flack from people, but if you know the Scarface and his body of work, you know that he had in the middle of the Jay-Z Nas beef, he had both of them on his record.
Yep. Guess who's Bizak with Jay? I forget the Nas record.
The Nas record.
Oh, was it the one with TLC? The girl from TLC?
Yes, In Between Us. One of my favorite songs.
That's taking me back.
Such a good song, and I wish that
there
was some way I could play the song.
Nas, Scarface, and
T-Boz.
T-Boz, yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that song. That was a good album, man. That was like
The
a good
Fix.
The Fix. Yes, that was a good like comeback album for Scarface. He had very good songs on there, and he was like back in like the consciousness of hip hop.
Yeah,
it was great.
that album I put with the Cuban links.
So he's your GOAT, like number one.
Yeah. And like I have weird people in my top 5 for different reasons because again, like I could give you the Biggie answer, I could give you the Tupac answer, but there's people that spoke to me that I had a different relationship with their music. Right. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I love Tupac. Yeah, Biggie, verbally, lyrically, yeah, fuck yeah. But like, for me, you know, there was just certain artists that I attached to more for what they were saying, and maybe I attached to them more because they weren't as popular. So to that effect, I put somebody who now kids this day, they know him as a podcaster, but I put Joe Budden as one of my favorite rappers. Maybe not my top 5, but he's in that era.
Joe Budden,
because
it's not every day you run into a Joe Budden fanatic.
I can consider. I've met Joe a number of times. Joe,
what's he like in real life?
He's a very humble, nice
like
man.
Same way as he is on the podcast. Because he's a bit of a dick on the podcast.
He's different now.
We all know that.
Well, you also have to understand that when I met Joe, I was meeting him from a fan perspective. So Joe was one of the first rappers to really take the internet fan base thing seriously. And Joe had a forum, joebudden.com. And in his lyrics on his first album, you know, he talks about the people on joebudden.com in a freestyle or some shit like that. The first time I met Joe Budden was at Chocolate Lounge.
Chocolate Lounge.
It was a Joe Carter club. And
is that on King Street?
Fuck, dude. I believe so. It was a small little club. Had a glassed off VIP.
Oh, chocolate. Wait, that was, I think, if my memory's jogging me correctly.
Wasn't around a long time.
It was inside nightclub.
Okay.
On Richmond.
Okay.
Because I remember this was Vince Carter's.
It was Vince Carter's club.
It was Vince Carter's club,
yes,
not Joe Carter's club.
Vince Carter. That's what I said. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought you said Joe Carter for some reason.
It was Vince Carter's club.
Inside nightclub, which was like peak era Vince Carter, Air Canada era. Raptors were like All-Star Game 2001
slam
era.
Slam dunk competition, hell yeah.
Yeah, and so I remember, because I used to go to Inside a lot, and I'd see all the ballers there, and there was a little club inside called Chocolate.
Okay, so Joe Budden comes to Toronto shortly after Pump It Up, and to give hip-hop history from me, which probably is foggy at best. I smoke a lot of weed, but back in that time frame, it was Joe Budden and it was 50 Cent that had the internet abuzz. And 50 Cent obviously went on to be huge, the biggest thing ever at the time. And Joe Budden was kind of like the underdog. And I guess maybe back to my point, I kind of related with the Joe Budden, and I liked his lyrics, especially the stuff that he didn't put on the albums. So Joe Budden comes to Toronto, Chocolate Lounge, and I was a frequent person on his message board, and I had the name Leans, Leins.
Because you were drinking lean?
No, I don't. Never drink lean. I was doing other drugs and mixing them together, and I had a nickname, Leans. Yeah, and I went to this Joe Budden show. And at the end of the show, he shouted out Leans from the message board, and he thought I was a girl. Because it's the internet. You know, there's no face. This is like MySpace era-ish, kind of, you know. And he literally says from the stage, he goes, man, I thought you was a bitch. And there I am in a, Michelin-esque.
You must have been very disappointed.
Well, it gets better. I was there in like a Michelin-esque throwback jersey and a fitted hat and probably my white leather Avrex jacket.
So this has got to be like, what, 04, 05?
Oh, man.
Around there?
Yeah, something in that era. And his guy came off the stage and took me in, took us to the VIP and sat down, and he didn't drink at the time. And I got to know Joe Budden. And I stayed a fan of his throughout the Mood Musics and all of those type of albums that were really personal for him and where he got really deep into it and used some crazy samples, a Stain sample, and some really deep hip-hop with meaning. You know what I mean? There was substance to it, and you could tell that it was real. It was a person. I connected to it.
Yeah.
It wasn't bang bang money.
Wasn't he
and stuff.
he was in Slaughterhouse, right?
Yeah, that came.
Were you
after.
a Slaughterhouse fan?
I went and saw Slaughterhouse a couple times. I bought the record at the time. I knew that wasn't the Joe Budden that I enjoyed. That was the Joe Budden that he's a very good lyricist when he wants to be. He's very good with his wordplay. He can be a commercial success if he wanted to be, but I think that Joe Budden himself held himself back because he was a very personal person and he was going through things. And that was what I connected with. But my best Joe Budden story was I drove, and I told this story last week, so this continues. Somebody told me that I didn't really finish the story last week about getting pulled over by the cops, but I did. But I told a story last week about going to a hip-hop concert in Boston and getting searched at the border with weed and getting through and going to a hip-hop show in Boston, and it was actually a Joe Budden show at Harvard. And I stayed in the same hotel as Joe, and after the show, he came to my hotel room in no shoes, just in socks. There was about 25.
No flip-flops?
Just not
Because
even.
that's a rap look, like socks with flip-flops.
Not in this area. White socks. And I'll post the receipts because this is a No Cap podcast. He showed up in my hotel room party. There was probably 25 fans in the room. This is in Boston. And we were calling Shoeless Joe Budden because it's Shoeless Joe, right?
Nice.
And he was just walking around in his socks and shit. And I have a picture somewhere of me, a picture of me with Joe Budden. And Joe Budden is wearing a Joe Budden shirt. And I'm wearing a Lean shirt because I went by Leans at that point in time. But the connection to an artist and, having that experience probably is why I became such a fan, right? And that's the difference.
Yeah.
That makes, there's artists that I've met, and I'm sure you've met, Ryan, I'm sure you can say the same thing too, where you had expectations that they'd be someone that they're not, Joe, to me, was a nice guy.
You know who was a really nice guy that I met? And I thought he'd be very, scary and I was kind of fearful of him, sort of. But he turned out to be a total sweetheart, which is Lloyd Banks from G Unit.
Now, I have a completely different story about Lloyd Banks.
And ironically, in Barrie, too, not far from here, I went to a Lloyd Banks concert in Barrie.
Was this back in the day?
This was probably 04, 05, something around there.
Was it at Georgian College?
It was in a school auditorium or something.
Okay, so there's number 2, the show. I was at that show. That show was put on by
That's awesome.
That show was put on by a friend of mine, Jason Clareman of Liquid Chrome. It was called the Rolling on
shout
Chrome.
out Liquid Chrome. I remember they were the promoter,
Okay.
and
Nice.
one of my friends was down with either the promoter or had some other business arrangement with Lloyd Banks, and so we ended up backstage.
Was your friend? Wait. Was your friend Chris Hines?
No.
Okay.
No.
You know who Chris Hines is, though, right?
He's also, I think he's an agent now of or manager of a lot of artists. He was at Rolling Loud. I know Chris Hines.
Okay.
I know Chris. He was also in Buffalo when I was at the Griselda thing, but that's a whole nother
I haven't
thing.
seen him in a while.
But anyways, so we ended up backstage, and then also ended up at the hotel. We went to the hotel where Lloyd and his crew were,
Fuck off.
and it was party. Everyone, it's all smoked out, and I remember wanting to get a picture with him, and he was just the nicest, politest, just a super nice guy. He said please, he said thank you, he gave me a dap. He when we took the picture, he put his arm on my shoulder. It was like the warmest, it was like his hand on my shoulder, and it felt so warm and safe. And I was like, yeah, I'm in G Unit now. This is what it felt like.
So
and
this was after the show?
This was after the show, yeah. And ever since then, I've always had like warm feelings and memories of Lloyd Banks.
I need to meet Lloyd Banks again because I was
sweet guy.
I was at that show.
And a great MC.
I was at that show, and I was in that hotel room before the show.
And he didn't like you?
And let's set the scene. I'm a Georgian college student at the time, and I went to sell Lloyd Banks weed.
Oh, nice.
And he wanted it for free. And I was like, what? Like,
come on, you were going to charge Lloyd Banks money for your dank
so
weed?
I guess this is where I'm the dickhead. I was like, hey, man, remember saying, I was like, you got like a big ass chain on. I'm a broke college student. Like, you know, it's $200 for the ounce. You need to pay me for the ounce. And he was like, I'm not paying you for shit. And I was like, okay, somebody's paying me for this fucking weed then. Like, I don't, you know, like, I'm a college kid. And so moral of the story is he wouldn't sign my picture for me.
Well, because
And-
you tried to hustle him for your you know, your weed, man.
I thought that someone
You couldn't have broken him off with a couple grams on the house?
Bro, I had already given him some. I was selling him an ounce. This is 2004. You know what an ounce of
Shit.
weed was like? A good weed in 2004.
What, $250?
I was giving it to him for $200, and
your
I
price.
just thought somebody would like fucking hit me with the money gun or some shit. You know what I mean? Like it's G Unit. Like,
Yeah.
like I thought I'm gonna be like, oh, that's all it is. I'm American.
Wow.
I was used to dealing with Americans that when I would say $200 Canadian for an ounce, these American rappers, they would be like, what? And like hand you 200 American and be like,
Yeah, like it's Monopoly money.
like,
Or like Canadian. When they
No.
when rappers have Canadian bills on them, it's Monopoly money.
they were just surprised that it wasn't $500-600 an ounce at the time.
So basically, we were at the
Shit.
same show, but we had two totally different Lloyd Banks experiences.
Yeah, I thought that he was a little bit of a dick because he wouldn't sign my picture. It wasn't about the money because I got paid. Let's keep that 100%. I didn't have much interaction with him afterwards because I think maybe I rubbed him wrong by asking him for the money and not asking someone else. Maybe that's on me.
Right,
But at the end of the
yeah.
day, I was a fan of Lloyd Banks, and I had photo that I wanted signed by Lloyd Banks, and he refused to sign the photo for me. And that, to me, kind of left a sour taste in my mouth regarding Lloyd Banks. And then you were smoking my weed with him after the show,
I was
having
smoking
a
your
wonderful
weed.
fucking time.
Yeah. Yeah, we enjoyed it.
It was
nice.
good weed, man.
Yeah, thank you.
That's-
20 years later, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
He should have charged you $200 for the autograph.
It wasn't worth that at that time. He wasn't 50 Cent. Have you seen 50 Cent perform?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you go to there was a club show in Toronto. He popped up. I can't remember where the fuck it was.
I saw him at Cops Coliseum in Hamilton.
Really?
Yeah, this was 05. Cardinal and Rihanna were opening.
Oh, that's early, Riri, too.
Yeah, early.
She's doing the Super Bowl tomorrow.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson did the Super Bowl.
Dude,
Prince
if
did
you
the
play
Super
the
Bowl.
Super Bowl, that's the pinnacle, man.
The Weeknd did the Super Bowl.
That's the pinnacle. If you're I mean, yeah, it's the Super Bowl. That's the echelon right there.
They haven't had Drake yet, though. They're still top to go for Drake.
And I'm sure he's
Yeah,
still
exactly.
I'm sure he's still a bit salty over that. You know, we don't care how many billions of streams you have or awards or all this or whatever, but you never played the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you think that's because he dissed the Grammys, or is there some sort of conspiracy keeping Drake off the Super Bowl? I don't know. There was a lot of shows in that era actually that Jason did in Barrie that put a bit of a scene there for a while. That's gone away, unfortunately.
Yeah, a lot of shows came up here.
Ice Cube was there. I saw Snoop Dogg. I rolled weed for Jazzy Jeff, one of the best DJs to ever DJ ever. They had a lot of great shows in Barrie in that era.
Because I guess they had good promoters. Like
Jason was promoting shows. Jason bankrolled it, and
yeah.
he did it for the people, and rightfully so. That's why he cemented his legacy in the Barrie area.
So
Liquid
he's a
Chrome.
legend out in these parts.
I mean, I've been wearing a Liquid Chrome hoodie in weird places and had people stop me for it.
Really?
Yeah,
How long was their run?
they're
Liquid
still
Chrome?
around, man. They got to be getting 20.
Yeah, they're still open.
Yeah, they're 20-something years there now. It's got to be, man, because, like, I met Jason in...
I respect that, man. Just, like, independent promoter. Like, you love music. You're not... It's a big... You're taking a big risk. You're probably not going to make much money. In fact, you'll probably lose money, but you still put all that energy and effort into it to bring a good show to your people, and I respect that.
Well, and thankfully he had the benefit of he was promoting his business through the culture. Like,
so Liquid Chrome was like an actual different business?
It's a store, yeah.
Oh, it's a store.
It's been the, first big, well-organized, clean bong shop that opened in Barrie in the early 2000s, I'm going to say, in that same era. And he used it as a vehicle to promote the business by promoting shows.
Cool.
And created quite the culture. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, and I think there was a few shows that went sideways, or as it happens, that maybe don't sell as good as they do.
Yeah.
It hasn't. There hasn't been a lot of shows in the Barrie way. There's a few people in Canadian music that still bring hip hop shows to the country. You still see Peter Jackson out there grinding
with Tony Ayo.
Yeah, he was just out on tour with Tony Ayo. Right. Shout out Pete Jackson, man. Shout
out Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson started.
He follows the Flower Vault.
Does he?
And I follow him. He's dope.
He's dope, man. I remember Peter Jackson started selling grills, man, in the Paul Wall era. Peter Jackson is Peter Jackson can say faithfully that
he's
started.
He's good. He's a good MC, man. He does it.
Yeah, he started from the bottom, and he's still doing it. He's still putting it on. I don't know if that Yayo tour is over yet. It was. I think
they were like I don't know, were they in Kitchener or something? Or they were in Ontario. I don't know if they came to Toronto or not, but
yeah,
it was cool that Tony Yayo, man, free Yayo.
Free Yayo. Dude, do you remember those shirts? I wore what show was it that we went to? I wore the Stop Snitching shirt to. That was a fucking era. Right in that same era of the free Yayo shirt.
Stop snitching, stop lying?
The stop snitching, the stop sign,
Oh my God.
That's an era.
Was it who made that shirt big? Was it Cameron?
It could have been.
Who was wearing the Stop Snitching shirts? Was it Cam?
It could have been. I can't remember, man.
I
just remember that was a huge.
It was the Stop Snitching shirt. And it was also the I'm Not a Rapper shirt.
Drake wore that for Big Apple at the Northern.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Shout out Big Apple.
I did my homage to Big Apple where I did the I'm not an influencer, right? And I made a shirt in the same font and everything. And I'm not an influencer because I remember that was that shirt.
That was that was in the DVD era.
Smack DVDs.
Yeah. Remember the DVD era?
Yeah.
They were wearing the I'm Not a Rapper shirts.
Shout out Shot Review because he was doing the Toronto DVDs in that era. I can't remember what the name of that was. Do you remember the Toronto rap? It wasn't Smack.
No, but the one DVD that it always comes to focus for me during the DVD era was the Real Toronto. Do you remember the Real Toronto where they just some guy with a camera went into different hoods?
Yeah, the Russian guy. He went from hood to hood.
Just interviewed like cats from the hood.
Yeah.
I got that at the Pickering Town Center. That's where I bought that movie.
Do you still have that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we need that.
That's a Toronto.
Yo, someone was looking for that actually. Glory might want that.
Friday, Ricky Dredd was in that. I think he was the actual host. And then they had a camera guy. And just when I think of the DVD era, that's the one film I always think about. They went into Moss Park, Regent Park, Rexdale, Cataraqui, Malvern, Jane and Finch, Jungle. Yeah. Like it was crazy, man. It was like real shit.
I did a podcast previously called the Steady Mobbin' Podcast. Shout out Steady Mobbin'. They do a great show over there. Glory's there. And he had a lot to do with that. And that actually came up in a conversation with Toronto artist Adam Baum.
Shout out Adam Baum.
Shout out Adam Baum. About how he went to the first hood and then he just kept progressively going hood to hood, showing them the footage of the last hood. So it just kept getting crazier and crazier and crazier as it went on because everybody wanted.
Wow.
Yeah,
to one up.
And the guy, if I'm not mistaken, his name was like Mad Russian or something like that.
That's a good idea.
And after it all popped off, I'm pretty sure Glory will get in the comments or something. Maybe I'll have to hit him up, but I'm pretty sure dude bounced and he left the city shortly after that whole thing. Like the camera guy.
Oh, okay.
Like the guy that made the DVD.
So like was there fallout from that film? Like was there an aftermath from all these like kind of hoods going out like
I'm not that in
on
tune with the
tape?
whole thing. They were just, I remember them speaking on it about how crazy that era of Toronto hip hop was and how it got crazy by the end of it.
But like for me, it was like this is Toronto. Like
Just putting the city
what,
on.
What you think everybody lives in the center, like Lawrence, like Yonge and Eglinton, Yonge and Lawrence, Rosedale, Forest Hill. Toronto ain't Forest Hill, Rosedale. Toronto is like Markham and Eglinton.
Yeah.
Toronto is like Albion and Finch.
Yeah.
Like that's the real Toronto when you think about it. And like for me, so seeing that DVD, it was like, and I knew about a lot of these hoods from like promoting and just people that I knew, but
Right.
it was really eye-opening to have like the first sort of documentary about how thousands of people were actually living, how they were living like in our city. So yeah, man, that was a crazy documentary. I still have the one I bought
You
Yeah.
both still have
for
it.
$10
I'll
at Yonge
dig
and
it up.
Dundas.
I think also the thing about it is that in hip hop at that era, we didn't have a reputation as being hard like New York City,
Right.
as being hard like Houston, as gang banging like LA. Like everyone thought that Toronto, we were all really kind and everything was clean and
Drinking maple syrup,
Yeah,
playing
and-
hockey,
and
living
there
in our
wasn't-
igloos,
yeah, and
and
especially
being white.
especially Americans in the hip hop community kind of just were like, whatever. That's not really. I remember when I was on, again, the Joe Budden Forum, like talking to people from Camden and like New Jersey and like, Bronx.
Hoboken,
Yeah, just like places in Jersey,
Teaneck.
like really, really rough areas, and like them not understanding that there were some bad areas in Toronto too. So I
Yeah.
think that really like opened people's eyes to like,
Yeah.
this is a real city, and
Yeah.
it gave some credibility to like, look at how hard Toronto rap is now, man. You listen to the things that these kids are saying on the microphone.
It's crazy to think about because we're Canadian. We're supposed to be proud and patriotic of like our social welfare system. How like nobody gets left behind in Canada. But you look at these documentaries and you see what you see online these days. It's not the case, man. So many people are getting left out, and there isn't social welfare like we purport to have. You could look at certain hoods in Toronto, and they're just as bad as projects in New Jersey, New York, Philly, etc.
I mean, ask some of the people from America that have come to Toronto and had issues when they go to places they shouldn't go. There's definitely, and I think that's the point is that now, when you hear a song from a Toronto artist, our sound is like, it's reminiscent, maybe not the sound of the music, but the lyrics and the thing they're saying is reminiscent of those like really like hardcore rap, from like the things that these kids are saying in the music and how they're talking. Like, you used to listen to rap and you could tell the rappers that really had their hands in the streets. You could tell
but it's just sad, man, because like so many rappers have like died needlessly. Like Redway, R.I.P. and like who's the other dude who died in front of Queen West?
Houdini?
Was that, Houdini, right?
Smoke Dog.
It's just
Yo,
like
Trap House.
it doesn't end, man.
Trap House?
It's tragic.
By Smoke Dog, Trap House. When that song dropped, that song is hard. It still goes hard as fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah, Houdini,
but
Broad Daylight.
It's just crazy how like all these beefs started through music videos.
Yeah.
It's just like all these beefs started through, I'm going to be more provocative than the next guy, and I'm going to like go to his hood, dissing him
Yep.
on his own turf.
Yeah,
Like, come on.
doesn't work out.
Well, this is also
It's
because
not going to work out for you in the end.
It's just because we also have a generation of people that are defined by clout, and they know that if they do that, they get the clicks, and the clicks get the view.
The more provocative you are, the more comments, the more views, the more engagement, but then, lives are lost.
And that's been a slippery slope. Look at this, isn't just a Toronto problem. We got rappers out in LA trying to eat chicken and waffles with their wife, and they get shot down. You got Offset in Houston. He's hanging out with Jay Prince, supposed to be running that city. He gets shot. Like people that they're at a point in their career where I understand why someone that's grinding right now, that has a dream of being a rapper, why they would do things for promotion. We spoke earlier on Moolah buying out Wendy's. You know, is it a flex? Who the fuck cares? Because he's doing it, and you know, I know why he's doing it, because he's not sleeping on a $500,000 mattress like Drake is. But someone like Offset, you know, someone that's a producer or a rapper that's signed to a major label that, you know, is making money, you know, they got to be a lot more careful. You know, I have experience walking in entourages of up and coming younger rappers, and like, I know it's cool to not want security, you know what I mean? But like, there's somebody out there that has no problem making their name off your name. And that's unfortunately the way it works. There's a line there where you have to know, like, you know, when to get out.
Yeah.
And when you need extra security, when you don't be taken. You know, a lot of these rappers roll 12, 15 guys deep, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I mean, there's an up-and-coming rapper that I fuck with really hard in Toronto, Casper, just got out on a bid. His brother came on, he's still in jail. Come Outside, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that song. It was another Toronto song that, like, come on, man, shit went hard. Yeah. And I know that, you know, there's a time and a place. He just got booked, Fortune Sound Club out in Vancouver, Live Nation tour. You know, he just got off a bid for some sort of crazy gun infractions or something. I don't know. I don't know the whole case, but my man's free now. You know what I mean? There's a time where you got to, like, leave that behind. And
yeah, absolutely.
And unfortunately, hip hop seems to be one of the hardest ones to do that, to get away from everything, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, man, it's been a great time having you guys here. Ryan, I appreciate you filling in Mike Rita's role while he's off being a superstar. I know your Instagram's private, but if you want to shout it out, why don't you tell the people where they can find Ryan when he's not hanging out in Ghana and he's in Canada, or you can shout out both of them.
Yeah, shout out Ghana, Red Bricks Lion, and my local account, Red Bricks Ryan.
Red Bricks Ryan on Instagram.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, in the history of talk show sidekicks, Ed McMahon, Andy Richter, Red Bricks Ryan.
Yeah, is he good? He's just filling in the blanks. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Daniel, your book is called The Flyer Vault. It's 150 years of Toronto concert history. There is something in there for every single person, whether you like B.B. King, the Rolling Stones, Guns N' Roses, punk rock, electronic, if you want to learn about rap. If you enjoy looking at things like Biggie Smalls' first performance in Toronto in a basement food court, if that's the type of thing you're into, you're going to want to follow Daniel. Daniel, where can they find you?
Yeah, just check out the Flyer Vault online, all platforms.
Check platforms. And the book, awesome. I assume you can get that on Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon, Indigo, on our website, wherever.
World famous author and curator of the Flyer Vault.
Yeah, and co-author Rob Bowman. Shout out Rob Bowman, Grammy winner Rob Bowman.
Grammy winner Rob Bowman. Let's talk about Rob for a few seconds.
Rob.
Give him some props. I didn't know.
Rob's the OG, man. He's one of my good friends. He's a teacher, lecturer of ethnomusicology at York University. He's a Grammy winner for, I believe it was the 1997 Stax Records reissue. And speaking of Stax.
Oh, yeah, that right up there.
Right up there, Soulsville, USA. Right and he just embodies music. He is music manifested in human form. And he's an encyclopedia of music. And I'm just very grateful that he was my co-author for this work that we did, the book. And hopefully me and him can produce some more books going forward.
So he's, when I call you the Music Encyclopedia of Toronto, he's who you call the Music Encyclopedia of Toronto.
Absolutely. He's like my mentor. And especially with like anything pre like my era, like, you know, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, like even pre-rock and roll, gospel, you know, the jazz and swing era of the, you know, 20s, 30s and stuff. Like his music knowledge just goes so far back that it's just been a pleasure working with him.
Awesome. All right. Well, this has been the Snacks of Life podcast. This is episode number 2, Attack of the Cones. Shout out Headwater Cannabis, Headwater International. You can follow them at Headwater International. They sent us over some goodies. That's what we've been smoking on, some fried ice cream cake and some sort of crazy hash blunt thing that definitely did the trick. I'm the Snackman. Edward, you can find me at rare snacks _ Toronto. I fucked up my own thing. That is typical of me. And you can catch us on the Snacks of Life podcast at Snacks of Life Pod. It's available on all platforms, Stitcher, Apple, Google, wherever the fuck you want to listen to it. And all this video is on YouTube. Thanks so much for having us, guys. Hopefully episode 2 was dope, and we'll see you soon.
Peace.